Berikan hatimu, berikan energi di dalam semangatmu.
AIS Play รวมความบันเทิงคุณภาพเปิดความสนุกทุกที่ทุกเวลา
from Team Korea, flexing their jungle a little bit, but now that they've made it to group stage and beyond, seems like they've found themselves a stable roster. And again, we have to talk about how these teams got here because they both came out of the East Asia region. Both of them went 8-2 throughout the duration of the qualifier stage. And then Team Korea was able to take the tiebreaker and advance. And this is a pattern that continued to repeat throughout the duration of the tournament.
That's the case. Of course, when we saw both Team China versus Team Korea, the Republic of Korea, a lot of it was based off of when it came down to the wire. When it came down to the tiebreaker, the Republic of Korea was far more consistent, and it followed them through. In fact, Seed 1 getting out of the region, coming into today, of course, the group stage, where they were in Group 1, or Group A that was. And it felt like we set the tone on day one when we got to see both those teams face off, a much more consistent, I would say, slower pace composition that we saw from them. And they were able to take it out. So it's going to be a test for Team China today.
You can hear the fans behind us. Let's go ahead and bring up the bracket so we can show you how we've gotten to this point. Because as we said, the Republic of Korea went undefeated throughout their group stages, advancing to the semifinals. And since then, they have not dropped a single game. Of course, Team China doing their best to try and match that. But again, they did end up dropping those two games against the Republic of Korea.
Yeah, and so that's what matters here today, is that you see the journey that through the double round robin. And all you have to see is the two times those teams have faced, Republic of Korea had the head and shoulders above Team China in both stages. I like the composition coming out of Team China in the second time around. That's why the adaptation is so crucial, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, and of course, to update you folks on what's going on in Group B, Chinese Taipei was able to take the first place in their seed. They ended up dropping in the semifinals to the People's Republic of China. They're currently playing their fourth place match against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who dropped to the Republic of Korea. Currently, that matchup is tied at 1-1, and we'll try to give you updates on that series as it goes on. But that means we now get to turn our attention to the premier gold medal matchup, the rematch between Team China and Team Korea. And this is what everyone is excited for. These are the two premier leagues, and they are about to clash on stage behind us.
It's going to be fun to see who are going to be the iconic players to watch here, because, I mean, the journey for the People's Republic of China has been Uzi. Playing around Uzi, seeing if the style works on stage, and a lot of the times questions have been asked about Xie in the mid lane, if he's going to be plugged into the bottom side matchup, because that's what Xiaohu's done in RNG, domestically. But you have to see if that's what they've decided to do today, see if he goes towards a supportive pick, or if we're going to see a new style for the People's Republic of China.
Yeah, and this is an interesting juxtaposition of styles between these two teams. The Team Korea brought in 5 players from 4 different teams, yet they seem to be excelling in teamwork, maneuvering across the map and playing in such a way that Team China can't respond. And despite Team China bringing 4 members from the same team, they're having difficulty keeping up. So as you said, we're looking to the team style for Team China to try and adapt and keep pace with Team Korea.
It's interesting because the two players that the People's Republic of China's brought in, of course, Meiko and Xie.
Yes.
And that means that they have to be plugged into what is a specific style that the People's Republic of China has really come in with. So, of course, you can see what they're bringing in for today's game. Let Me, MLXG, Xie, Uzi, and Ming. Ming is incredibly important because this is the style they wanted to run with. With Meiko coming in initially, he's a little bit more tuned in of plugging into his jungle. Coming in alongside MLXG or moving towards Xie, Ming is a much more lane phase focused support.
Exactly.
He's going to be a lot more tuned in what Uzi wants.
And that's the style that Team China have been known to play. That's the style that Uzi has made his name for himself internationally as the Mad Dog himself, one of the most mechanical players in the history of League of Legends. So it's no surprise that they are prioritizing him down in that bottom lane. Of course, his opponents will be doing everything in their power to try and upset that. Team Korea, they've already shown they know how to play around that style. They know how to pressure him and make him uncomfortable.
A very protective style that Team Korea has, because while we're looking towards the support position, People Republic of China bringing in Ming or Mako now settling on Ming, that's been the same case for Korea, but a little bit more towards the jungle position, where you're seeing either peanut play or you're seeing score play. Now, of course, you can hear the audience. Everyone wants to see how Uzi can play here today. But the story for me has been towards the jungle position, because MLXG wants to be able to attack first, fight first, ask questions later. I want to see who Republic of Korea ends up bringing out, because if it's Score, he's going to track him down. I think Score is by far the most consistent jungler in the world right now, while Peanut is definitely going to be playing MLXG style.
Oh yeah, going head-to-head in that matchup. Of course, we'll be looking towards that as we get to Team Korea in a bit, but you can see the rest of Team China following up and supporting behind Uzi, previously known as the Crownless King. He was often acknowledged as the best player in China, but never won a title, never won a throne until this year, until he won Spring Split and then went on to win MSI. Is this the chance for him to start taking some wins again and continue this streak of dominance in 2018? We're about to find out, because Team China are going to have to absolutely put on a showing if they want to try to match the dominance that Team Korea are bringing out.
Yeah, it could be a golden year for him. But of course, he's flanked by teammates that are all plugged in for the same cause. MLXG and CA. I want to see them work alongside each other so they can actually get the game rolling early on in the game. Because the early portions of the game, incredibly important. Uzi's not going to be able to make a point about that. He comes in a lot later on in the game, so he can actually get the damage going. It's going to be how MLXG ends up aggressing, looking for Raptor Camp, and he needs CA to be able to be plugged into that idea.
And our eyes should also be on Let Me in the top lane. He was playing against Keen last time these two teams faced up, and despite having a theoretically favorable matchup, he still ended up getting camped, getting ganked, and losing that matchup, opening up another win opportunity for Team Korea. So far, he's been playing two different styles, that split push on Kennen and Jace, and tank for his team fights with the Gnar and the Cho'Gath. So we'll see what he decides to go towards today.
Usually when Let Me is pushed into a corner in a best-of-5 situation where it's do or die, he goes to a team fight. He doesn't try and split push. He's put in a situation where he said, okay, I'm going to be a supportive player for the team. I'm going to be coming in hot with the teleports, so watch me come in. That being said, Korea's up on the screen. Keen in the top lane, Score in the jungle, Faker, Ruler, and Core JJ rounding out the line.
And you can see Score making his return. He has been the undisputed best jungler of the 2018 Asian Games esports demonstration event, tracking his opponents, finding kills, setting up his lane to the thing that everyone and their mother is talking about is how he synergizes with Faker, how he sets up the unkillable Demon King in the mid lane to do what he's known for.
He's been a blessing to Faker for this tournament, because Faker, domestically has asked the question of, how am I going to get the support to win in my lane matchup, or how am I going to be at least get us SKT in a position to be in a winning position? Hasn't been the case, didn't get towards the playoffs, but with Team Korea flanked by the best jungler Score who can support his play, the best bottom lane of Ruler and Core JJ, you don't have to think about the rest of the lanes, and Faker hasn't been. He's been outright dominating his own lane matchups, and that's what we like to see out of the match.
Yes, and of course, we do try to turn our heads from the solo kill that he gave to the Saudi Arabia mid lane 2 minutes into his previous game, but here you can see the man of the hour himself, Faker, on your screen. The fans are here in droves to cheer them on. I'm sure we'll get a chance to continue hearing them on as the game goes, because his matchup will be against Xie, someone who historically has given Faker some trouble.
Yeah, we've seen them time and again in Rift Rivals, in Worlds events. Of course, both of them not going to be doing it in 2018. But whenever they match up, Xie has always had the confidence to take the counter matchup and try and kill him in lane. It's always been the case here. So counter picks, Xie is what he's looking for. I wonder if that's going to translate to this best-of-5. If Xie is going to take the back foot, the supportive position, or if he's going to try and challenge Faker once again.
It's absolutely going to speak to the style that Team China are looking to play, because they know they have to go up against this man on your screen, Score, the guy who doesn't have a single title to his name. Could this be his very first title at the first Asian Games esports demonstration event, or will Team China try to put a dent and keep that run going?
You know, we've been talking about how Uzi is cashing in this year, but definitely Score is going to be doing it this time around.
Yeah.
Because not only is he sitting in grand finals in the LCK, but of course he's sitting in the grand finals here today to get the gold medal representing his country of Republic of Korea. So Score is ready to do it. And it's just in the back half where he's about to cash it in. So, I mean, good luck to him. It all depends on if he can take these pressure situations, because in the past, pressure has been a problem for him. But I want to see if he can do it.
Absolutely. He's surrounded by the best players that Korea has to offer. If ever there's a time, this is going to be it. You can see the two coaches standing behind the players getting ready to bring us into pick and ban for this game one that is so important for setting the momentum of this entire best-of-5 series.
The Samsung champion coach Edgar by the side, and of course the drafting coach of Zephyr. So we were about to get into it. Pick and ban for game one. Republic of Korea versus the People's Republic of China.
And already the Camille ban away from MLXG. Seems like Team Korea have got their eyes set on focusing on that jungle matchup. That's no surprise considering how important Score is to tracking, and Camille a great champion at denying that. And again, the blue side Galio ban. We saw that just yesterday when Team Korea played against Team China to deny Xie something safe in lane and perhaps force that aggro matchup.
This is very interesting. I mean, it's always the People's Republic of China that is usually worried about the Galio so they can actually step up and fight. But remember, we already said there are two faces of Galio. The one that looks to play defensively. A lot of the times when we see the Korean lineup play the Galio, it's to extend the game, deny a lot of the fights coming through. And when we see the Chinese teams end up playing the Galio, they try and dive frequently along with the Camille that's been the MLXG special. So it makes a lot of sense now that we're seeing Engage stricken off the cord from Korea.
We do see the Akali and Aatrox ban away from Team China, the two meta power picks of patch 8.15. And again, the Rise priority for Faker in the mid lane. He's got the skin on the champion. We saw all of the world skins played by Team Korea in the semifinals yesterday. But once again, it looks like Team China, they're going to focus on their bottom lane just like they did yesterday.
I'm not surprised about the bottom lane focus. I'm surprised that Korea has actually foregone that focus. I would have liked to have seen the Varus Tom Kench pick coming out of Korean side. Obviously, they can't pick both of them, but I would have liked to see in the Varus first pick. The reason why the Rise is notable is because Keen has played it in the past.
Yes.
It's nice to see this, of course, a very smart draft that Korea has done for in the past is fake the Rise going into the mid lane. Faker, if you know him well enough, you know he'd love to pick the Orianna into the matchup. So, you know, holding on to the pick, it's a key core way of playing on blue side is having multiple flexes so you don't show your hand early.
And we do see another Ashe pickup for Ruler in the bottom lane. He got to take that against Uzi yesterday, the last time these two teams faced. So it does look like we are getting that delayed bottom lane focus from Team Korea, which will again push the jungle towards a later priority, as it is Ashe Braum out of Ruler and Core JJ. And this was the duo that ended up going down in CS in the previous game just yesterday. However, they were able to land massive engages. Their arrow pressure across the map enabled Keen to split push, enabled Faker to split push on the Rise and collapse and follow up on that. Will China fall into the same trap this time?
It's just been a great tournament meta for the Republic of Korea because a lot of their engage focuses come through Ruler, funny enough. Of course, Varus and Ashe have been the go-tos, and then if you're looking towards the supports, we've seen a lot of Alistar, and of course the Rakan being picked up just now by the People's Republic of China. So it works well because a lot of these picks rely on massive setup so you can actually get the Ashe arrow coming across. And so Ruler has been finding them time and again, has been forcing the enemy teams to pick up Cleanse. You already see a Cleanse being covered over Xie, so that's a fear that you have to have going up against Korea.
And so far it looks like with this Rakan pickup, that's going to send Lulu into the mid lane towards Xie. And Team China already broadcasting loud and clear. We are focused on one thing. Keep Uzi alive. Let him carry for the team. Let him do the work that he needs to. And already Team China banning away champions that can instant kill that Varus in the back line as the Jace and Gangplank are banned away. I'm already getting ahead of myself. But Darius is something we have to talk about, and it's still open for Keen if he wants to take it again.
It's possible. It's only difficult to pick up the Darius if you don't have strong front line. And I mean Chinese. Right now, the People's Republic of China don't have a front line. Picking up a Lulu makes it so you can pick a little bit more heavy bruisers or AD carries. I would have expected perhaps a kindred jungle coming out of the People's Republic of China, but of course, Xin Zhao coming out means that they want to at least look to press up in the jungle, try and invade a little bit more heavily. Lulu and Xin Zhao is actually a brute force to deal with in the early game.
And that was something that Team China struggled with in their last game, finding that hard engage, a way to force fights open without flanking, because now we know Team Korea are so good at collapsing and denying the vision, denying those flank opportunities. With the cannon lock in for Keen, that will send the Rise into the mid lane and saves that top lane counter pick for Let Me. So it looks like Team China already having learned from their draft, getting him a safer lane and getting him that counter pick, whereas Score will get that Gragas once again in the jungle.
Been having a good time on the Gragas pick, especially up against MLXG, so you'll have that in mind. Jarvan is going to be the pickup. We haven't seen a lot of Jarvan when it has been picked up, not in the jungle, has gone towards the top side of the map. It's going to happen here today as well, as Let Me has gotten his counter pick Jarvan.
That should be a very fun lane. I mean, that's a great way to deal with the Kennen matchup. Nothing like the Dragon Standard, Dragon Strike knock up into Cataclysm. No Lightning Rush can get you out of that. Setting up a big Wombo combo setup from Team China, whereas Team Korea looks like they're going to try to play the same game they did yesterday.
It's so funny that they've gone up against each other so often that the priority is known by Korea. Taking away the Camille, Galio, and Alistar, say, hey, we know that they want a team fight and try and fight us. But the People's Republic of China, the draft does the same thing anyways. The Jarvan ultimate is going to be getting in there. So I want to see if Let Me can be unleashed early on in the game. As they shake hands, of course, getting ready for game one.
We absolutely are, as this is the grand rematch between Team China and Team Korea. This best of 5 on the grand stage of the 2018 Asian Games esports demonstration event. You can hear the fans chanting.
Interwoven too, so you know what? If the games get a little bit rowdy, if someone just throws a hand up, maybe a punch, I wouldn't be surprised.
We're absolutely looking forward to it, because now we are ready to load onto the Rift for this game 1 between the People's Republic of Korea, the People's Republic of China and the Republic of Korea, getting us into game. And this one is so important. This is the one that determines the momentum. Mental state and fatigue going throughout this best of 5 is something that these players are very familiar with, and they have to be on top of for the duration. But that said, we've loaded onto the Rift. The Team China chants taking over for now. But we'll see if those continue as this series continues on. Ming setting up a defensive line with the rest of Team China as we make our way onto the map.
You made a mention, of course, of mentality. Game 1 being so crucial. Throughout the event, it's always been about, it's a best of 1. How are you going to be able to take a game 1 loss in terms of the best of 3 situations? But if you take a loss throughout the group stage, then you have to be ready, prepared for the next game. So I think this has been a great test to mental fortitude for both of these teams to find themselves in the grand final. They've already passed that test. It really comes down to how do you deal with the lengthier strategizing that comes with a best of 5.
And that's what we're going to see throughout the course of this series. Again, we've only just started. We're 90 seconds into game 1 between Team Korea and Team China. Looks like MLXG getting himself a leash on that top side, and Score looking for the same on the bottom. Now, this Xin is a much more aggressive setup from Team China. It provides a much more straightforward setup and engage if they want to try to find themselves on the offensive, but that was something that was stymied by Score last time these teams played on this Gragas, effectively tracking MLXG around the jungle and denying him opportunities into lanes.
And MLXG knows that. You can already see what's been happening with the pathing, as I make a mention of that. Faker's just trying to say, hey, get off of me, GA, please. But MLXG's pathing, he's foregone the Krugs. He's not doing the Raptors. So that's been the usual pathing from junglers going into the red side jungle. You already see that's what Score has been doing. But you already see the Xin Zhao is actually on the map, not doing any of his camps, now going back towards his blue buff.
Yeah, stepped up onto Score to very early on try and turn that matchup around and declare his dominance throughout that course of the jungle. Looks like he did take Scuttle Crab, and there is a defensive ward from Team China on that bottom side. So still, as expected, focusing on Uzi's half of the map as Faker's getting real low here. Xie, he's got himself the flash. That's the Airy, but Faker gets out of range.
Very key rune prison there. He's going to have to go back to base. You always have to watch out for that because that can snipe you. With the extra bit of damage on Airy that can always do it. You don't have enough for tier, so coming back onto the map using his teleport, it's going to be a little trickier.
Yeah, Score looking for a gank in that mid lane, but Xie playing so safe. Knows he's at half health and no mana. Already took the lane advantage and is happy to capitalize on it with a quick recall.
Yeah, all eyes on Score on that one because he wants to be able to support Faker to get a good base timing for his tier. So as long as he stays on the map for the next few minutes, then we're going to be expecting Score to be placing down some key vision or at least pressure around mid so we can get pushing out. Because it's already a difficult venture here for Faker. Going up against the Lulu, push is not going to be in his favor as the trade's always going to be on Lulu's.
You can see that constant push already starting to open an advantage for Xie. Meanwhile, we just saw the top lane. Keen on that ranged cannon, happy to trade against Let Me. Already was 16 CS ahead as the wave crashed in, and he's able to step into the river and try and maintain some vision. So it looks like despite getting counterpicked, we're seeing a repeat performance of yesterday for Let Me into Keen up top as it's already 10 CS down. MLXG is already trying to maneuver around this vision and look for an opening in either mid or top.
And it's going to be the annoying cannon, the one that goes press the attack and Blade of the Rune King, all that nonsense, stick them to a side lane. So 1-3-1 is there for the Republic of Korea. That's what we should be tracking as the game goes on. I was always wondering if it's going to be the Smab cannon or the Keen cannon, AP or AD. So it looks like that's been answered for us.
Even seeing the minion dematerializer in the mid lane, Xie is aggressively controlling this and trying to deny Faker any movement around the map. And that has been what has unlocked Team Korea. The fact that Score and Peanut provide enough threat to allow Faker to maneuver around.
Oh no!
That Score in the bottom lane. He's found Ming, battle dance backwards, and the heal. He flashes. Score lets him go. Team China escape with their lives this time, but that's 2 summoner spells burnt.
You can already see with the amount of vision that Team China has actually had through the river, they thought they were safe to be walking into the next bush. Not going to be the case. It's always the favorite pathing for Score is actually getting into the lanes through the lane gang. He's always been getting it set up by his side laners. That being said, Xin Zhao is in position.
LXG trying to hover around behind and bait this. There's no flash engaged from Ming, and they did just see the stand behind me from Core JJ go up. But MLXG dodging around the vision, and a ward over the wall spots him.
Going to be a little bit more awkward here for Xin Zhao now. He's cleared up his both sides, blue side, red side. The only thing he can actually take is Krugs and Gromp, and he's a mile away from the Krugs. So for his, you know, his movement right now is just going to be helping his lanes pressure out. So now Xie is feeling safe. He can actually get a base across. I think right now for Xin Zhao, all he's going to be really looking for is being able to take his Gromp and then basing himself right.
Now, as we're looking towards this mid lane, Score happy to catch this CS and hold on for Faker. As you said, Xie getting that base with the Dark Seal. That's the Predator being used by Score to bully MLXG away from the Scuttle Crab. Just playing the aggressive game, knowing that Xie is back, and he could have the numbers advantage if Faker were to have recalled in time.
Yeah, and I think that's a Cloud Dragon early on. No, it's actually better. Mountain Dragon. Yes. There we go. So it's a little bit important. It won't really sway either jungler to try and solo it out early on. So at this point, bot side river pressure is just there so you can get that Silk Road from the mid lane to the bottom lane to either free up Faker or Xie. Here we go though.
Flash engage onto Faker, plus the knockup, but Score is there as well. A cast to the side, MLXG onto the turret, gets first blood, but goes down in the 1-for-1 trade. Teleport was started and canceled by Keen as Let Me got the knockup, slicing Maelstrom, and Keen looks for a solo kill and gets it.
I don't know how that top lane started, but you could see who was the victor. Good job to Keen to get the solo kill in his favor. But in the mid lane, actually, Team China was very close to being able to get out of there, but the rogue tower shot getting it. So take a look at this. The perfect engage here, even followed up by the counter gank. Tower shot goes on towards MLXG, 2 of them. So that was the deciding factor of the trade.
In the top lane, Keen teleported in vision of Let Me, who knocked him up and canceled it. That's why we see the full cooldown of that duration. But tragically, Kennen still does a very large amount of damage, even if you do try to knock him up mid-teleport. And it was a quick turnaround that's already setting up that top lane with a 20 CS advantage and that kill. But Team China showing some aggression in that mid lane. perhaps trying to unlock Xie so that he can in turn unlock Uzi.
So I'm surprised that the top lane all-in actually happened, the Cataclysm coming through from Let Me, because the one deciding factor of the top lane matchup is the consistent damage, along with the passive and stun that the Kennen has here. Here we go.
Ooh, that's the challenging smite. Xie's chunked down to half. MLXG steps up, lands the knock-up, and score. Bites off too much more that he can chew.
He thought that Faker had a little bit more damage coming through, but gated by his own cooldowns. Now it's going to allow a lot of pressure here from Team China to push out mid. Xie is really feeling it. He didn't die in the last time round, was able to get the full experience, and now is constantly getting the push across.
And take a look at the minimap. Uzi and Ming, with that push pressure we just saw in the bottom lane, were feigning a collapse toward that mid lane, making it even less nice for Faker to try and take an extended siege. China, they might have feigned towards playing towards the bottom lane with these champion picks with this priority, but so far, almost all of their ganks have been towards that mid lane to try and set up Xie.
This is a really good start from China, as a whole from the bot side of the map, because not only is mid lane jungle winning 2 kills on towards the Xin Zhao, as we're seeing a little bit of a war between Let Me and Score.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he wants this. The cask knocks him sideways. Faker is there. Let Me has flash, but Let Me's forced to go deep into enemy territory as he's slowed down by this barrel, places a ward, and here comes Keen over the wall at the blue buff. Let Me with a knock-up on the side, Rune Prison, and will inevitably go down as Faker gets gifted the kill.
I'm surprised he didn't just try and go in between the 2 towers. If he can get towards Xin Zhao and Lulu, he is fine, and he has EQ throughout the 2 towers. I just didn't see why he stood there.
Look at the trade-off. MLXG is trying to take the Mountain Dragon. Hawkshot spots it out, but Uzi and Ming are pushing in the bottom lane. This could very well be worth it for Team China. Inevitable damage on turrets and objectives later if they're able to capitalize on this dragon now.
Yeah, this bottom lane matchup was actually going to be winning for China just based off the mid lane pressure there. So Lulu is doing fine in her lane. Uzi and Ming in the laning phase were actually just doing phenomenally, either freezing the lane on towards Braum and Ashe or just outright pushing. So pure domination in the bot side. While top lane, it's just Let Me not really being able to take the pressure.
He's still down nearly 30 CS now as Xie takes a rotation from Faker in the mid lane, trying to heal up with the Dark Seal and Corrupting Potions. But this lane is going to continue to bounce back and forth as Faker is starting to scale up on this rise. The windows of opportunity for Team China to play around Xie and play around this mid lane are getting smaller.
I think right now, if you're CA, you should be leaning. Oh, wait a second.
Actually trying to collapse. MLXG following up from behind. Faker has the flash. He's under the turret. Xie decides not to go for it. The red buff, and he dies. MLXG gets the kill.
Red buff and red smite. You just don't know how much damage is going to be coming through in the calculations, but it's just enough. Nice kill on towards Faker.
And that brings it to 3-3. Still 1,000 gold advantage for Team Korea as they are up 25 CS in the top lane. Slight CS advantage in the mid lane as well. And another advantage for Score. The only lane that's going close to even is Team China in the bottom lane. But MLXG, as you said, with a challenging smite, just loops around.
Ruthless aggression from MLXG. At this point, most junglers would say, hey, let's get deeper vision in the enemy jungle. Maybe look towards a bottom lane fight. But it wasn't going to happen. Red smite, red buff, all you really need to do to get the job done.
That is excellent calculations out of Xie and MLXG on that double knockup. Now Score is trying to sneak the Rift Herald. He's got it down to half and a control ward in the pit, but MLXG places one, sees that it's being done, and is looping around towards the top side. Blast Cone doesn't get him over the wall. Looks like he's trying to collapse on Keen, who will find him in the river, slicing Maelstrom. But there's the Crescent Sweep to reset this. Score steps up as Faker uses the Realm Warp to collapse in. Cataclysm over the wall, knock up and a teleport. We've got a collapse though as Ming is on his way. Score running as best he can, but Ming is on the prowl. A good body slam gets Score away, but dies to the Glitterlance as Xie has got Faker pinned against the wall. He's still got flash, but with nowhere to go. He's going to inevitably drop down to Team China. Over the wall, they chase him from 3 directions. Core JJ follows up. They're trying to commit to this. Faker is trying to play for his life, looking for Let Me, gets the bounce and gets the kill, and ends up trading a 1-for-1.
There is no way for Lulu to coming through there. Didn't have the flash ready, so was just going to be playing across the wall. But just outright aggression from the Chinese squad. It was MLXG that didn't want to give up the Rift Herald, and you can see the problem that was coming through it. Keen had full pressure in the top lane, had it pushed out, and was ready for a fight. But guess what? Spellbook Rakan, baby. He just trades it up, comes top lane, and gets the crucial help to net the kill on towards Gragas.
And Here we see that fight once again from the beginning. As you said, Keen steps into the river first.
So two problems here. Jarvan's not going to be a part of for a little bit. Also, Lulu is taking the long way around.
Oh, we see a dive bottom. MLXG chasing score away, as I believe that was the cask used. And meanwhile, Faker again in the river is being collapsed upon. Score's pressure is denied, and Team China get to collapse on Faker.
Outright numbers game. I know pre-game we were talking about if Letme was actually going to get pressure free from the lane. Yes, he is. He's in the bottom lane while Keen is taking top lane tower.
Most folks behind the scene were talking about how if China were even able to take a single game, it would be an upset. But right now, they're trying to take an advantage in this game one, and very well could be on their way to do that if they continue to stymie and keep this aggression. But still, Team Korea take that first brick up top. It's 30 CS and first turret on Keen.
This is what Letme was willing to give away. Of course, the kill coming down. This is honestly the Republic of Korea starting to play the game of Team China. At this point, usually they would take a step back, recognizing that the numbers advantage is in China's favor, but they wouldn't have to take a fight. They know Keen is taking top lane tower, play it back a little bit. And then you can use his teleport if you're getting dived. Didn't happen. They contested the Scuttle Crab and got baited for it.
That's starting to open an advantage now for Team Korea. They've got that split push, Keen pressure. It has fully come online. Here we get to see that play from the beginning. Ruler, caught by the dive between Uzi and Xie. Score turns it around by getting a kill onto Uzi, but they end up trading back for another kill. Score now fighting over this blue buff. Dragon is spawning in 90 seconds. Xie desperately wants it. The arrow has found MLXG. He eats himself a nice shield, and even a teleport goes in. He goes in for the blue buff. MLXG looks for the knockup, gets the crescent sweep, but they are well within the AoE radius. They collapse and kill him. The Score will use a stopwatch to stall this out. Uzi and Ming are up top pushing for a turret to try and trade. Realm Warp onto the mid. They're bringing 3 members. Xie is forced to back away from his own turret, but Keen with the Blade of the Ruined King looking to land one, but Xie is just out of range and escapes, but only just. Meanwhile, Uzi finishing off the top tier 1, the mid tier 1 being pushed by Team Korea and defended by Team China.
I feel bad for the observers, man. This is just pure chaos. Every time we get into the replay, they're like, just kidding, another fight is happening. I don't know what's happening with MLXG. He just went straight in, trying to sacrifice himself for the blue buff. Guess what? You're going to lose it anyways.
He bought a lot of time for Uzi and Ming up top. They took the tier 1, and now they're taking the Rift Herald. Team China, they are trading objectives. It's a bit reckless, but it seems like it's paying off.
Yeah, if they can get this Rift Herald, then yeah. It all depends on if there's anyone going to be here to contest, but they're actually doing this one fairly quickly. Dragus is back at base 2.
Blade of the Ruined King shred from that Varus is puncturing through the Rift Herald's health. No smite needed. As Rift Herald picked up by Team China, Xie will happily pocket that as he heads to split push against Faker to try and match that. But still, that other split push on the other side of the map is non-stop. Keen just rolling the pressure onto this bottom tier 1 and keeping Letme busy. As long as Letme is defending a turret, he's not team fighting, and that's what Team Korea want.
Yeah, you can already see with the strategy contrasting between both of these top laners. Letme wants to pull the Kennen towards team fighting. Not effective. All Kennen really can do is have the consistent damage of his auto attacks and maybe the stun of his ultimate, but he can just get blown up, and that's been the case a little bit earlier on. So at the same time, you're right. If Keen can keep Letme underneath his own tower, then it's just a 4v4 that Korea is winning.
They're set to collapse on mid lane, but Team Korea take the safe route back to their turret, walking up into their own vision and not risking a fight over the control ward. The Dragon has spawned, but Team Korea do not take the bait to head down into that river, and MLXG will start working through its health. It is just a cloud, so it's not going to do too much. But Core JJ is on the way towards the pit to look for some vision, and Faker, without a teleport, is split pushing up top.
I'm actually usually worried about the Cloud Dragons because they deal the most damage, higher attack speed. Usually it's Cloud Dragon and the Ocean Dragon that I have to worry about because of the slow that comes across it. But of course, as Xin Zhao, you have the sustain, and you have so much pressure from your adjacent lane, so you don't have to worry about anyone trying to mess with you. So good job soloing it out, and now sets the stage for the next dragon that would come up.
2 dragons to 0. Already Team China with a much stronger performance compared to yesterday's shutout from Team Korea. They seem to have learned their lesson in the semifinals in that second matchup against Team Korea, and now they're trying to bring it on stage. As we get towards the 17-minute mark, it's just maneuvering around vision for the two teams, trying to focus on hitting those core item breakpoints. 2 items on the way for Uzi. Looks like Ruler trying to chase down the same as he's finished off his own Blade of the Ruined King.
I like the fact that you mentioned the items, because both these teams have different motives right now. China wants to speed the game up. They have the Titanic on Jarvan. He wants to get Black Cleaver. And Lulu, honestly, just has a lot of raw damage based off the Luden's Echo. So for China, get the fights early. It'll work in your behalf. But for Republic of Korea, trying to scale up with the tier on Faker, I mean, they want to hold their towers up, but that's not been the case here.
Look at that. The recall was actually canceled by Uzi and Ming. They feign a recall to force Ruler back and end up taking down the mid-tier 1, clearing out the minion wave. Rift Herald is going to step up and get a full charge onto this mid-tier 2 turret for some good damage.
Good investment too. The next fight that comes through, if it's a one fight by China, they can take an inner tower now. So it's going to be all on Korea, playing it safely, getting Faker to a good enough spot, trying to play a 1-3-1, but it's going to be decided on the next fight, honestly, because China's been really pressuring the situation.
And look at the constant side control from Team China. Their willingness to take a fight is forcing Team Korea back. Let Me breaks down the bottom tier 1 turret with Team China outside of vision on the top half. They're sacrificing some minions on the top half of the map as Faker pushes it in. But here comes the potential collapse. Team China escorting their carries all the way up to that wave to make sure that there's no risk. But still, Team China, they're equal in gold despite being up in 2 turrets just because of the CS differences between that top, mid, and jungle for Team Korea.
Yeah, and at the very least, you can talk about the CS differences. It's just the side lanes, the solo lanes right now being prepped well by Korea. So Faker pushing up top lane, you're going to respond to him. He's just staying there. It's the Unicorns that love the exile way, where you're just saying, yeah, you're going to collapse on me? Guess what? Realm Orb, I'm out of here. So he's just playing it safe, and he's making it so China, if they commit to a dive, they better come out ahead with it, or they're going to be losing the top side of the map. Remember, 19 minutes in, this also includes the Baron.
Yeah, and he's playing so safe as well, constantly ducking in and out of vision to keep Xie busy in between those minion waves, as he is building towards a Zhonya's Hourglass second. So even if Team China wanted to try and collapse on him, oh, Faker feeling a bit frisky, getting some damage onto Xie just to keep him pushed up against that minion wave. They step forward, but here comes Team China racing up the river. They're on the way.
Go.
That's the Realm Warp. Can he silence the flash? And Faker gets away.
So close. Literally all that needed to come through was the W from Lulu. That being said, Keen's on you.
That's Blade of the Ruined King. Let Me uses the Cataclysm, slicing Maelstrom.
Get back here.
Puts him in a cage, and the arrow! No way! It hits him from long range, and Keen still gets the kill.
Wow, so well done. Straight through mid lane too. Ruler, the archer, nets the kill, recognizing that Jarvan just wanted to get the hell out of there. You're not doing it, buddy. It's not happening.
Let Me had the flash, but didn't react in time, and now the minion wave crashes in bottom. Team Korea are able to use that split push and take the bottom tier 1 turret down.
This is a real issue now. Sure, mid lane is fully controlled by China, but if you're moving straight towards the inner tower, that can be defended by Ruler. That's all right by him, but it's the rise in the side lane, of top lane. And it's towards the bottom lane where Keen is actually getting the pressure down. Of course, CoreJJ having to blow his own flash because he's trying to get the vision when he has no one near him. You just can't make those mistakes there, but didn't get punished too heavily.
And still, Team China are looking for opportunities to punish, looking for mistakes in this play. Here we get to see it once again. Ruler from the mid lane, from downtown, all the way home.
He just didn't see it coming. He was so confident that he had gotten out of there. He was like, there's no way you're catching me, buddy. Of course, that's not the case. So really well done by Ruler to net the ultimate.
And now it's 1,000 gold lead for Team Korea. As you said, we've passed the 20-minute mark, so Baron is up. If Team China continue to make mistakes like this, that could be a very explosive ending to the game if Team Korea are able to play around it. But right now, they're just trying to control vision. They're trying to control their waves and enable Keen to split.
It just means that, as you're right, it's a ticking timer that China's playing off of. You have Baron pressure, you have mid lane pressure, but you have to either burn it or find a pick fast because Keen's in the bottom side of the map threatening your inhibitor tower. That's the worry that you currently have, is that he is going to be able to chip down those towers and Jarvan is not going to be able to do too much about it.
There's some very big engage from Team China. Grand entrance over the wall from Ming, but he doesn't find Score or CoreJJ. Top is even in push. And Faker has got his Realm Warp back up. Team China just moving back and forth, looking for an opening, clearing out the wards of Team Korea.
And this is one that's crucial to keep it calm in communications, because at this point, Let Me must be pointing out that something needs to be happening now. Tower is being chipped out. You're just looking for a pick on towards Ruler. He doesn't have cleanse at all, so throw an ulti his way, and it will hit.
Now they're trying to push up into the mid lane. Score caught on the side. Ming is sped up. They're pushing up to this mid-tier 2. Team Korea don't want to fight this, and they have to sacrifice the turret.
Faker's up top lane too. He has to base if they want to defend this inhibitor tower.
That's the Predator from Score. He might be feigning an engage. Ruler has got the arrow, but decides not to fire it.
The call is for them to stay in their own lane. It's Rise that's hiding. As long as they feel comfortable, he will stay in lane to fight.
That's Ming going in, the chains of corruption. They get the knock up on the Score. He's low and dies. Uzi's attack homes and follows. Core JJ gets knocked up, tries to use the Glacial Fissure, stalls it as best he can, but still goes down. And Team China, they don't want the inhib. They're looking for the Baron.
All eyes on towards Baron. You can't make a mistake on that one, but Rise has got the top lane and Keen is keeping steady bottom lane. But this is a massive win for the People's Republic of China.
They're absolutely calling this play. Faker's pushing up to the inhibitor turret. Let me will sacrifice the bottom tier 2 to Keen to allow Team China to take this Baron 23.5 minutes in.
And sure, some gold might go into the pockets of Korea just by taking the side lane towers, but this was so incredible. Ming was lying in wait, finds Score, and at that point, Braum is ready. He wants to defend the Gragas. And by that point, I mean, Ruler already sees the chaos in front of him. He's not going to be able to touch it. So the major win of getting Baron here means that split push doesn't work anymore. I mean, Lulu's going to sit in side lane, Jarvan's going to sit top, and at the very least, you cannot push these minions because they are stacked. So it's going to be on Korea to try and defend the mid lane inhibitor tower. They're going to have to play a little bit risky now.
A wave is starting the slow push for Team China. Bottom already Let Me with teleport is heading up top, and it looks like Team China are there to support him and break down that tier 2, open up the map even more, and allow for their own split push to try and match. But Score and Keen are already on their way towards the mid lane. Looks like Faker's heading top to deal with Let Me, but it's a 1-4 split from Team China, and MLXG just needs to pick which side he wants to go towards.
Ardent Sense are being picked up by CA, so they're not apologetic at all of what their strategy is.
Oh, the arrow goes in between, but still hits MLXG. And as 5, Team China, they dodge the primary initiation of Team Korea.
But look at the top lane wave. The mid lane wave is about to follow, so they're now escorting the mid lane wave so they can dive here. No enchanted crystal arrow from Ashe makes it a lot easier. And remember, MLXG still has stopwatch too, so he can be the primary mode of initiation.
You can see Korea trying to clear out the minions before they crash into the turret as Team China, again, they set themselves up, they take their time, not risking it without making sure they've got the proper setup. Let Me escorts the minions up top as MLXG and Xie clear out these wards here. Faker over the wall. They're all grouped up, but they are spotted out. Team China does not take the bait, still the push onto the tier 2. And the minion wave crashes in. Team China will be able to break this turret down.
And you will never know where Team China's going next. The control wards they placed that made it difficult for Republic of Korea to ever find out where they're heading. So they can go mid lane, they can stay top lane. All you need to do is keep yourself top side. No one can go bottom lane because at this point, you have to respect it.
Now they're setting up towards that bottom wave. That slow push is starting to pay off as it's building into that massive turret. Keen was on that side of the map, but has to back away because of the collapse from Team China as a 5-man unit.
Massive.
They are about to stack up onto this turret. There's one barrel to try and clear things out, but Uzi steps up unhindered, and the turret is broken. 6 turrets to 4, and Team China still have the Baron.
You have to draw the lines towards your inhibitor, because remember, this was the bot side. Next Baron that comes up, suddenly it's free game for China. You have to defend this inhibitor in the bottom lane.
That barrel will explode and clear most of it out. Ming goes for the battle dance onto Uzi, but no grand entrance yet. Baron is about to wear off.
That's a massive shield.
There's only a few seconds left before the duration. Chains of corruption. The arrow onto the front line. Uzi uses a cleanse, and MLXG using the crescent sweep, but Uzi's on the far side. They've left Let Me. He goes into the front, but it's Team China in the back as they take a trade onto Keen.
Trading top laners there, but here comes the Realm Warp.
They're about to collapse. This is Team China getting collapsed upon. Score steps forward, but Uzi is free-firing down the corridor. Core JJ goes low. Score backs it up, and that's MLXG dying. Uzi will drop as well, and Team China win the fight.
Such a slim corridor, and hats off to Core JJ throwing up the wall, so there was no follow-up on the engage that came through from the Rakan. Excellently played from the Republic of Korea.
Now they've got 20 seconds on the clock to push and take whatever turrets they can. It's up to the inhibitors in both top and bottom, but with Core JJ taking these minions, they're going to finish off the mid-tier 1 instead, as Faker is happy to take aggro on this nice and tanky Rise. And Team Korea, 5 turrets to 6, going head-to-head against Team China and showing that even in the darkest night, they can still find the dawn.
A massive sigh of relief knowing that they took off Baron off of all 5 members off that team wipe. So there we have it. And remember, a crucial point, the Magi's that Lulu had is gone now. You would probably just sell it at this point. Look at the wall that Core JJ set up. There was no way for Uzi to actually step up, and when he did, exhaust was still on his head. So completely nullified. The strategy that they had could not go further.
Yeah, Core JJ putting up the door, a late flash and a late exhaust to absolutely nullify it. And you can see how Uzi's now modified his build, completing the Runon's Hurricane so he can hit multiple targets. Magi's still on Xie, as you said, at 4 stacks, so not quite as worth it anymore. But still, Team China, they're only down 2,000 gold and are still trying to maneuver around the map. They've got a very strong team fight if they're able to take it as 5.
Yeah, their strategy is still active. They just can't find themselves in that slim corridor anymore. In fact, if you do find yourself in that fight, play it a little bit slower. You don't have to go all in on the situation. I know it's tempting because you have Xin Zhao and Rakan, but at this point, with how buffed up this Varus can be, he's the one you have to play around. He's dealing the most damage at this point, and he's incredibly safe with how large that shield is really on him. So, with how this game's stating out, China has to play around Uzi.
They're certainly trying to. Baron is spawning in 90 seconds. But Keen, he doesn't need to split push right now because he's already set up a wave bottom. It seems as though Team Korea might be able or even willing to take a team fight against this Team China roster as they push a wave up mid. And Team China, with a quick recall to reset their wards, reset their vision, are about to move back onto the map and start trying to take control of the Baron pit. Yeah,
also kind of caught with their pants down a little bit just because Rise pushing up mid can do a substantial amount of damage with the ability he has now. Rabadon's death cap on that mid lane tower, so mid lane completely pushed in. They have to be in a defensive position.
Uzi finishing off his own Guardian Angel, trying to match the damage of that Rise with the Rabadons. Score going full tank on the Gragas Gargoyle Stone Plate. Even Core JJ trying to do the same with that Zeke's Convergence. It's all down to the damage. It's all down to the numbers of how this next team fight is going to go. And whether or not Korea can find a pick beforehand and deny Team China that 5v5 they so desperately want.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, they're just playing for it, right? MLXG and Let Me, both of them getting gargoyles. This means that fight, when it ends up happening, if they can get the value off of it with 3 members nearby, then they can be real frontliners. The HP does matter at that point, so we'll have to see if that ever happens.
And still Keen split pushing in the bottom lane. Again, coming back to this same song and dance, keeping Let Me away from his team, but that's Chains of Corruption. The arrow has found Uzi. He cleanses back. That's a teleport from both of the top laners, but already Core JJ is dead. Ming steps out. MLXG denies it as best he can, but look at the shield. Uzi steps up. He finds himself a kill onto Faker. Now they're chasing it down. Ruler tries to go golden, but he's got no chance of getting out of this one as Team China. They sacrifice MLXG, but find themselves 3 kills. Score on the side, stalling it out, trying to look for a way to get behind and deny the minion wave, but Team China are looking for the inhibitor.
It's a cannon wave too, so you know what? It doesn't matter if you deny the next wave. You have to take the cannon away from them. At this point, yeah, get out of here, buddy. That's a lot of waves, actually.
Keeping those minions busy, and it is only the cannon pushing into the turret, but Team China are still moving forward. 20 seconds on the clock for Faker, 25 for Ruler, but they take the inhibitor and open up this mid lane.
So crucial for them to adapt on the fly in that team fight and recognize playing it slower, beefing up your front line so you can play around Uzi's damage is how you wanted to play it out. Sure, Core JJ brought up the wall, and it stood for a long time. But the moment it went down, that's when China struck.
Here you can see Ming gets slowed, and Uzi just lands the snare. Even though Ruler lands the arrow, he just does so much damage.
But take a look at this. It was Xin Zhao denying so much with his own ulti, even gets the Lulu ulti to back him at this point. The moment Brahm's shield goes down, they go all in.
Faker is turning onto the Baron along with Team Korea. They've already got it down to half health. Team China are looking for a way in. Let Me is grouped with his team. But Team Korea looks like they're just trying to bait this fight. They know some of the cooldowns on Team China and are happy to try and play around them.
Yeah, pushing mid is crucial here for Team China because you're on a ticking timer. You can't stay towards Baron any longer. I think they're going to play it risky. You have to play it desperate and try and burn it down.
They're all behind the pit, maneuvering around the preset vision for Team China. They get into the pit. They're burning it down to half. Let Me is racing there. It's already down to half health. Ming gets a ward over the wall. MLXG steps forward as Core JJ tries to separate this. Piercing arrow, gets some good damage onto Core JJ, but now it's Team China taking the Baron. The arrow has found MLXG. He's slowed and cast, knocks him back in. Crescent Slash to try and reset this. Let Me steps forward with a big cataclysm. MLXG goes in, and that's all the AoE. Uzi is exhausted, but does he have enough damage? They're trading. Keen steps up, and he goes down. Uzi finds another kill. He flashes forward. Keen goes down. A triple kill to Uzi as he chases down Team Korea.
They can just push down the mid lane wave. These are longer death timers now. This could be the crucial win for them.
Super minions are already on the Nexus turrets. Team China walking through the inhibitor wave as Let Me prevents the recall. And Team China turn onto the Nexus. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a series on our hands as Team China take game one.
So decisive. The squad played around Baron. Hats off to Korea, they recognized they had to play a Baron fight. Unfortunately, the moment the Jarvan Cataclysm goes down, there's no way Kennen could get the stuns necessary. He was completely out of the fight. The moment you play around a 4v5, that's it. Varus is doing the damage, Uzi played it wild.
And Team China, it was a risky composition, taking the 1-4 against Team Korea's 1-3-1, playing that team fight style against Team Korea, and able to find the openings. No hesitation this time, and it pays off with a Game 1 victory. Still, though, if these are the two best teams of the greater Asia region, this is going to be a great best-of-5.
Yeah, it's going to be sick. Honestly, this is where a best-of-5 really does matter, the strategizing going into Game 2, because the Rakan was devastating. Ming had such a good control of the game where in crucial moments he was bottom lane and Baker was pushing up top. You were just having the three strong-man member, of course, the Republic of Korea, pushing down mid, just trying to hold China down. But of course, Score takes a step too far forward. Rakan comes in with his own ulti, and that was a crucial part of the game that really threw it into China's favor.
And that's something that we saw from Team China from the beginning of the game. MLXG taking the aggressive Xin Zhao to step into the jungle after his first camp and track Score, saying, you're not going to be the one tracking me. I'm going to track you and enable my own lanes to put on pressure.
A little bit more aggressively than Score would have done. Yeah. He was just saying that I'm literally going to not just check your buff, but also check your face. He just walked up to him, tried to find fights every time, so his GA trying to follow him up, had the Lulu shield at all times. And that's why MLXG had such a great control of the early game, because he was so brute forced about it. He was saying that, no, I'm just going to throw you towards the bottom lane tower, and maybe I'll dive you. We'll find out.
Sometimes it's not the most intricate or detailed strategy, but good old brute force is a good way to break things open. And keeping Score on his back foot, he still put on a great performance over the course of the game, but it seems as though there were small moments where Team Korea had openings. Faker split pushing top while the remaining members of Team China were mid, and he didn't push for the tier 2. He decided to go for an early recall just in case Team China took a little bit too much. Perhaps that risk-averse play could have hurted them.
Yeah, a little bit. I think that my major takeaway from it is if you're going to play the style, I appreciate the style. I think it's the best way to play it if you play it perfectly. Moving up mid lane when you don't have vision, play a little bit safer. You know your side lanes are going to be okay. You know Keen and Faker are still going to be hiding, so you don't have to push up too far aggressively if you're scoring those situations. That's just small clips that they're going to be watching when they're in the back. But ultimately, it came down to those fights. And I think one major takeaway now, you're going into these later stages of these games, and the game 2 at the very least, is that when Korea were behind, they were far behind, they took the fight around Baron, the red side area, Braum Shield came up, and they won the fight when Baron was in the enemy team's hands, was really telling with how close these team fights can go. So if the decision from Korea is actually to start playing team fights, they can match up, and I want to see what ends up happening if they abandon the split push style.
Now that's a very risky style to take against Team China, the region best known for their team fighting. As you can see, our ongoing semifinals match has just concluded Game 3. Chinese Taipei taking the victory, now one victory away from locking down that bronze medal, getting 3rd place in this Asian Games 2018.
I like the fact that Chinese Taipei were able to come back because remember the initial game was taken by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is a historic win for the Middle Eastern region. Great for the esports there because the fact that they can go up against professional players and still take that game and make it a competitive match is insane. So
we hear so much how they don't have their own server and play on EU West with 270 ping.
Bad.
And then you solo kill Faker in the mid lane in that semifinal matchup. So again, we'll keep you updated as that series continues to go on. But there's still plenty more developments for us to break down for this Team Korea versus Team China, because we saw the strategy from the beginning. It was the 4-1 against the 1-3-1, playing around Uzi as AD carry, because that's what the damage graph looks like when he is able to pop off.
Yeah, and it really was just about if Xie was going to play that style as well, if you're going to play around Uzi, and he said, yes, I'm picking Lulu on first phase. I'm going to be going towards the Ardent Sensor after Luton's Echo, and I'm just going to be trailing behind Uzi, giving up a massive shield once he had stacked up Magi Soul Stealers. And so that was the game plan they played. I thought it was excellently done as well, because he was able to even back up MLXG in multiple engages that he had. So if I'm Korea, you go into game 2, sure, Rakan's in the back of your mind, and it makes it a little bit easier to play around team fights when you don't have Rakan looming over you. But also, the Lulu can be something you strike out, just because it's so key to the AD carry strategy that MLXG, or at least for China has.
Yeah, that engage is so important. Uzi takes our man of the match for game 1, 8-2-4. Massive damage percentage on his team. You can see that kill contribution as well was very high, but I think this is what we expected from the style, to see Xie actually take a step back from the carry role, still matching the aggression of Faker, but using that aggression to set up Uzi for success.
Which means that if he's coming into this best of 5 in a supportive mindset, he can also go towards the Galio, which is why it was important for Republic of Korea to ban it out. So now you start have to think about the picks that he can play, that he's willing to. Lulu was so crucial because a lot of it was based around the 2v2 mid lane. So even though I thought Score and Faker had it really well down packed in the mid lane, challenging these Xie and counter ganks coming through as well. But unfortunately, it's very difficult to go through against the sustained damage that Xin Zhao Lulu has.
Yeah, especially when that Xin is able to burst onto the Gragas so quickly and try and match that burst. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break while we get ready for this next matchup. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got ourselves a best of 5 on our hands. Don't go anywhere. The Asian Games 2018 esports demonstration event will be right back.
ไทยแลนด์ปูนไทยแลนด์ปูนเชียร์ไทยแลนด์สู้ๆนะครับสู้เย้ไทยแลนด์ไทยเชียร์ไทยพูดพร้อมกันว่าไทยเชียร์ไทยเย้สู้ดิ
ไทยเชียร์ไทยในเอเชียนเกม 2018 ตั้งแต่วันนี้ถึง 2 กันยายน
โอ๊ตผมชายกลางมาหา
พี่พศตอนนี้เขาไม่เห็นผมเพราะว่าผมอยู่หลังประตู
พศคือใครครับนี่คุณผมถามแค่คุณคุยกับใครคุณก็ตบผมคุณก้าวร้าวมากอีพศ
มาหาไปพร้อมกันวันศุกร์ 4 ทุ่มตรงอย่ามาสายนิดจ้ะ
สเปคผู้หญิงเป็นไงตัวสูงตัวเล็กในนี้ดีกว่าถ้าสมมติให้เลือกคนหนึ่ง
รอดูอาจารย์ไหมฮะ
ให้เทียบเลยแจ๊ดไต้ฝุ่นหอยถ้าสมมติตอบเอาใจใคร
เอาใจเหรอคะเอาใจก็ไต้ฝุ่นค่ะเป็นแขกรับเชิญนะคะญาติเราต้องให้แขกรับเชิญ
เจอกันวันอาทิตย์บ่ายโมงครึ่ง
ไม้ทองคำเด็กสัปดาห์นี้เตรียมหาจนท้องแข็งกับการมาของพวกเขาเหล่านี้
น้องเจลลี่เหรอลูก
ใช่ค่ะ
โอ้ยทำไมน่ารักอย่างเงี้ยสวยๆอย่างงี้มีหนุ่มๆมาจีบหรือเปล่ามีแฟนหรือยังจ๊ะ
มีแล้วค่ะชีตุนกับไอ้เชนแต่ว่ามีใครมาจีบเยอะเลยค่ะแต่หนูชอบแค่2 คนตุนกับไอ้เชนเพราะว่าหนูไม่อยากหลายใจค่ะ
น้องนนท์
ครับ
น้องนนท์หิ้วอะไรมาลูก
ขนมเทียนแก้วทำเองครับแม่ทำให้ครับ
เอามาทำอะไรอะลูก
เอาไม่ให้กรรมการน้ำลายไหลเล่นๆครับ
อยากไปประกวดร้องเพลงอยากไปประกวดมากเลยเหรอน้องก็ร้องให้เพราะๆสิลูก
ครับแล้ววันนี้ฝันของเขาพวกเราพร้อมจะเติมเต็มให้เสียงปรบมือต้อนรับน้องเจ้านะ
กับเสียงร้องแสนไพเราะที่ทำเอาผู้ใหญ่อย่างเราต้องทึ่งเสาร์อาทิตย์นี้ 20:05 น.อย่าสายนะจ๊ะ
ไม่ได้ลูกกดแค่นี้ไม่ได้จะไม่ได้สักผ่านเลยต้องกด
แม่เอาก็ได้ค่ะคุณป้าสุนารี
อยู่ในศาลเจ้า30 ปีคนเขาบอกว่ามาหากินกับศาลเจ้า
มีครับแต่เราก็ทำความดีครับก็ไม่ได้คิดอะไร
ได้ปลามาตัวนึงทำยังไงมันถึงจะกินไม่หมดเอาไปแกงไงตักแบ่งบ้านนู้นบ้านนี้แล้ววันหนึ่งที่เราอดแกงนั้นน่ะมันกลับมาหาเราจริงๆไม่ใช่แค่เขาคนเดียวต้องมีอาชีพคนในกลุ่มของเขาด้วย
ศุกร์นี้ 6 โมงเย็นการต่อสู้ที่จะมาช่วงชิงความเป็นหนึ่งในสงครามจังเกิลวอร์รอบไฟนอลกับการฟาดฟัน
วันนี้กระต่ายป่ากลับบ้านไงครับแหมปากดี
เชื่อเฉือน
ถ้าร้อนกันมากเรื่องเลี้ยงลูกกับทีหลังโทรมายืมกูตรงๆก็ได้ไม่ต้องมาแข่งให้เหนื่อยรู้ปะ
ทุ่มสุดตัว
ที่จะรัก
และแขกรับเชิญสุดพิเศษที่จะมาฟิชเจอริงกับ2 หน้ากาก
ฝากความคิดของฉันเอาไว้อยู่ในเธอ
เพิ่งมาเลยนะผมไม่รู้ว่าเขาคือใครมาก่อนเสียงเขาบังคับได้ตามใจจริงๆนะฮะนี่คือมืออาชีพจริง
ๆและคนที่ได้เป็นแชมป์ของจังเกิลวอร์คือหน้ากาก
ร่วมลุ้นไป
single makeup that's my woman she all caked up ready for the world she always face up you can dim the light to shine from within she on fire 11 kick in speaking from the row where she sits in when she speaks his story begins she's a homemaker record breaker what don't break her they just make her watch her players say a prayer she know better one for never she dance like no one else business she dance from every man's wish list she the illest most def the realest turn the lights on we about to witness coming for you you better ready for this inner force that I do never seen before
I've seen the rainy days I got my dancing shoes I don't know about you but I wanna dance tonight until forever let this be the time of our life.See the light and feel so beautiful. Let this be the time of
yo banggang ni kan kita target with the bullet bang bang ventilation presentation y'all know you're the man who's getting all this beating drum that celebrate the fire boom 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 this is your time you're the flower so just boom 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 it's a fire fire it's a celebration fire fire let's get information
What are we actually made of? Beneath the colors, beneath our similarities and differences, and our failures and achievements. We are the children of the universe. We exist to push all the boundaries. We are a never-ending flame, uncontainable, just like the sun. Listen to our eternal heartbeat as we march to greatness. We are the energy. Asian Games 2008.
ไทยแลนด์ปูนไทยแลนด์ปูนเชียร์ไทยแลนด์สู้ๆนะครับสู้เย้ไทยแลนด์ไทยเชียร์ไทยพูดพร้อมกันว่าไทยเชียร์ไทยเย้สู้ดิไทยเชียร์ไทยในเอเชียนเกม 2018 ตั้งแต่วันนี้ถึง 2 กันยายน
โค้ชผมชายกลางมหา
พี่พศตอนนี้เขาไม่เห็นผมเพราะว่าผมอยู่หลังประตู
โค้ชคือใครครับ นี่ผมถามแค่คุณคุยกับใครคุณก็ตบผมคุณก้าวร้าวมากอีพศ
มาหาไปพร้อมกันวันศุกร์ 4 ทุ่มตรงอย่ามาสายนะจ๊ะ
take a look at the bracket to show you how things are updating as our third, fourth place match has reached its conclusion. Chinese Taipei will take the bronze medal in a 3-1 victory over the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as that match concluded during the duration of our first game.
Yeah, congratulations to the Chinese Taipei team. But one thing that I want to really make a mention of, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia just running the event, a tough one in their own region, coming in towards, of course, the main stage and performing so well, taking the second place spot in Group B. This was a great journey for them, even taking the first game over Chinese Taipei. Hopefully we get to see more of them. Names like Fear, I want to be able to hear a year from them.
We'll certainly keep our eye on them as time goes on. But now turning back to this matchup, you can see the players return towards the stage once again. And despite the air conditioning going on at full blast, things are starting to heat up in this arena as the Game 1 win goes to Team China. Looks like they're staying with the same roster so far, with Ming making his return. But in this Game 2, as the lower seed, Team China have side selection to go into this next pick and ban. And that engage has been something that has been a huge priority for them over this tournament. When they lack the engage, it really seems like they struggle in these team fights. So could that be an opportunity for Team China to try and deny that with the ban's next phase?
I hate to break it to the people, to Korea, but there are a lot of champions in this game.
There are a lot, yeah.
There are a lot. They even dealt with the Camille, the Galio, the Alistar. You just can't ban it out. Really, you just have to play against it. And that's always been the charm of the Republic of Korea, is that they have never just outright challenged the team fighting, or at least the aggression that China has presented. They've played a smarter game, warded it out, and got advantages in the opposite side of the map. This time around, they just tried to fight them head on, and they failed.
And now that Team China find themselves on the blue side, Team Korea may be the ones who are forced to ban those strong 8-15 power picks. The Akali, the Aatrox, as Rise is banned away, and Team China get a chance to limit the pool, but Team Korea, they're actually banning away the Camille and Lulu.
This is interesting. Akali is who you look towards. Remember, the LeBlanc counter pick is still up and available. China has played Akali in the past. Let Me has picked it up, and it was unsuccessful versus the Republic of Korea. This could be Korea testing China, saying, hey, if you pick it in the mid lane, we can counter pick you and have mid lane priority. If you put it in the top lane, we can just outright play around you.
And look at that, a blue side Aatrox ban to eliminate the power pick. Team China want nothing to do with it. And Team Korea, it seems like they are calling this bluff from Team China as the Rakan is banned away from Ming, removing that primary engage and support from Xie as well.
You have to pick up the Akali here. Now, Faker has played it so much, of course, in solo queue, practicing it. Keen technically could play. He's a carry top lane player. So for me, take Faker off of the Akali pick. It might go in towards Let Me's pocket, might go in towards Xie. This plays around China's heavy team fight focus, but it will limit their early laning phase. Their laning phase is going to be fairly poor now that they've picked them up.
It also slows down Team China's priority towards that bottom lane. If that's a strategy they want to try to go towards in this game too, then taking the Akali first delays it, and we see Team Korea capitalizing. The Alistar now picked away from Ming, another huge setup, and Faker getting that Galio that took SKT to the finals last year. And now, to try and answer with that, MLXG will find himself on the Gragas and Uzi on his signature Kai'Sa.
But we've seen this kind of game play out before on day one. We've seen what happens when you give the Galio away to Faker and you try and pick a heavy dive composition. You just get iced out. So for Korea, I like what I see here. You can't dive Ashe and Alistar. It's going to be fairly difficult, especially with Galio looming over. Headbutt Pulverize is going to stop you in your tracks. So for China, you have to play it smart. I would like to see the Akali go in the mid lane. It just makes it so you're going to have to play a little bit of a slower game. And MLXG getting onto Gragas is actually fairly important for the team fights. Last time around, he had the Olaf, which makes it difficult to isolate individuals. This time around, if Galio comes up, you can isolate him. Maybe you can kill him early on.
Yeah, there's still plenty of flexibility in where that Akali ends up going, but Team Korea, they've got so many advantages coming into this red side. As that red side last pick, they can save that for Keen and give him a carry matchup into Let Me. Even taking the Darius into Cho'Gath like we saw yesterday. Supposedly a difficult matchup, but winning it with almost no problem, while even getting double support ban away from Ming. Team Korea are so prepared coming into this.
I love what I see here. Morgana and Tahm Kench, two amazing supports that look to save out your AD carry. Kai'Sa's going to be on her own on this one. Even if you pick up, let's say, a Braum that's left up. If it's going to be a Braum Gragas composition from China, it's going to be a little bit difficult to dive on towards the Kai'Sa. But remember, Kai'Sa now has to think. If she dives in, she won't have Tahm Kench to whisk her away, and the Morgana Dark Shield will actually not be there for her too. So it's going to be on Uzi to really just get a microscope in these team fights to see if they're the right ones to pick.
And interestingly enough, we're seeing Score take a Kindred into the jungle. Throughout this tournament, he's been primarily sticking to the Gragas, to the jungle, filling a tank utility role for his team, setting up with the big engages, setting up as the big tanky frontliners. But this time, he seems to be taking that big carry on the Kindred, and an Aurelia is picked up for Team China as they will finally round things out with their support last.
We'll get to the Aurelia in a bit just because Xie has made a name of that one in his own region, but for the Kindred pickup, because you're right, Score is great in terms of slowing the pace of the game down and making it so he can facilitate for his laners. But when Kindred's in the meta, he's the one you look towards because he is a phenomenal Kindred player. And so with Korea's composition, Galio, Alistar, Kindred, they can pick the fights. If China picks the fights, then of course you get iced out with a Kindred ultimate. It's going to stop you in your tracks. And so if China's going to want to get into a team fight, the Gragas is going to be crucial so you can get the ultimate when the ulti from Kindred is placed on the ground.
It seems as though the only target that they have to pick from is that Ashe, because everyone has a way to deny it. The Spirit's Refuge from Shen, now the Galio, Alistar, and Kindred all have ways to try and deny these kills. Of course, that being said, a lot of the damage for Team Korea is stacked onto Faker and Ruler. So while they've set themselves up with a hard-to-kill composition, their composition itself might be hard to find kills if they don't find the proper setup.
Yeah, you're right. A good amount of the burst potential does come from Galio. It's hard for him to find the consistent damage. I would say the consistent damage does come from Kindred and the Ashe, but you're right about that. It's very fragile if they want to walk out forward. If I'm looking at the Chinese squad, it's just trying to find individual plays. Kai'Sa, Gragas, if they can get one going. Remember, in this time around, it's going to be the Gragas support, and we've seen that a little bit in the LPL, so that just means that playmaking potential comes through. And big question, if Aurelia goes for a fight, does the Shen show up?
Yes.
That's what Xie has to think about, because he has to go if he finds a pick opportunity on toward Galio or in the side lane in a fight. Shen's going to show up and make it a 2v1. He has to watch his back.
You can hear the fans cheering as we get into this game 2, intermingling Team Korea and Team China chants as we get ready to load onto the Rift. Team China coming out of the gate with an early Game 1 win, but do they have enough speed to close out this series? Or will Team Korea bring us further into the depths as we get ready to load onto the Rift for this next matchup between the People's Republic of China versus the Republic of Korea? This is a very exciting matchup. Can Korea put a damper on things? Or will Team China keep this momentum rolling forwards? As the lights fade and the screen changes, Raz, we've done it. We've loaded in Game 2.
Now here's what's important.
30 seconds.
Of course, the composition from Korea does mean that they have to be in tune with each other. Kindred, if you can find the proper counter ganks, of course, or supporting bottom lane if they need protection from a dive. But they need to know what's happening on the opposite side of the map. Shen, 100%. But for China, it feels kind of like a horror movie where they're trying to isolate you, put you in solid in the side lane. So Akali is great in the side lane up against the Shen. Same can be said with the Aurelia as well. And we've seen how Uzi ends up playing with the Kai'Sa. Mid lane push, sure. But if he finds himself some time, then he wants to be able to put in a side lane pressure as well. So both of these teams, it's going to find it incredibly difficult to get a 1v1 in the solo lane. It's going to be how both these teams plug into each other.
And that's where it's so important to keep vision on where your enemy laners are, keep vision on where the jungler is. And this is the big strength of the Team Korea roster, that they are so familiar playing the intimate meta game, that intimate macro game, that macro knowledge that is so difficult to match. Very well could be a strength for them in this matchup if they're able to pick and choose which lanes they want to send that Shen to, send that Galio to. But still, we've got to get through that early game before we start reaching that split push period. Already we do see a red buff start from both junglers as they match on opposite sides, and Xie trying to keep pace with Faker very early on.
This is going to be important here. Faker's naturally pushing in.
The blade
here
surge.
we go.
He's nearly got another hit, but Faker heals it up.
This is the worry here. Faker needs help from the Kindred. The Kindred's just on her first push, only really got the Raptors and red buff for herself. So Faker has to calm down, get the potions running up.
Yeah, Xie's feigning with that Blade Surge. He's got his stun prepped up as well, using both of the refillables alongside that Dark Seal to keep him topped up. And Score will show himself on a ward to try and dissuade Xie from stepping up in the mid lane because he's still hungry for that kill.
That's the thing. You see where the Kindred is, but Kindred cannot get pulled into the mid lane. That would be disastrous.
That's the stun and the Blade Surge. A good knockup, but Xie decides not to chase. Actually, he goes under the turret, taunted, forced to flash back.
He is so hungry for the kill. Tried anything to get it. Using the cleanse, of course. Just, you're in a situation where you can get tower, of course, the tower getting aggroed onto you. Outplay potential there, but Xie still takes it to get the solo kill. Doesn't happen though, but you can see what his focus is.
Look at this, there's no flash for Xie. Faker, the edge of the shield, under the turret, and Xie's able to dodge it. Finally dies. First blood, Team Korea.
He was just a little bit too greedy. Didn't even wanted to bring in the Sejuani, so, you know, the teleport coming back from Faker, and Faker just gets the go button ready for him. Great comms between him and, of course, Score.
And despite knowing where that Kindred was, Xie wasn't able to get back in time. Tried his best to deny it as he teleports onto a ward and heads back into lane. While our attention has been focused on that mid lane, bottom and top has gone close to even. The lore matchup between Akali and Shen, the two Ionian ninjas as they go head-to-head against each other. This is going to be a much more favorable matchup for Let Me. Can he put on a carry performance on this Akali to match the carry performances we've seen out of Keen over this tournament? He's done so against some of the other teams in the tournament, but has not yet been able to take the game against Keen.
Well, for the matchup here, it just depends on patience, of course. You can already see Let Me playing around his Shroud. He needs to do that because, of course, Taunt, Draspian Dying proc, the Q damage that is consistent from Shen can actually out-trade you. So the worry here, if you're Let Me, is that your passive isn't going to be relevant if you're just going to be getting shielded across by Shen. So can work out for Shen, but if Akali's patient, works out well for her. You can see getting the Doran's Blade so she can match out in the early damage off on the auto attacks. And once she gets the first base, then her AP actually comes online.
It's also very interesting that we're seeing Let Me go for the Grasp of the Undying for more sustain and taking this himself. As Keen will use the Spirit's Refuge to deny any trades back, has to be familiar with this matchup as he's just keeping the wave pushed in and waiting until that level 6 kill mark of the Akali, that perfect execution.
And good timing on the passive shield from Shen here. The Q damage came across from Akali, just denied. He's going to be able to get it across. So, of course, doing a lot of good job in the top lane.
We just saw Score trying to step into the Dragon Pit. I believe that was a ward that was killed and turned into a zombie ward for Team China. That gave vision that the Dragon was being done. MLXG is stepping forward to help Xie clear this out. Level 5 and level 4, so no Glacial Storm Engage follow-up yet to find a target and try to destroy them. But as these lane phases go on, it's still close to even. No upsets on either side.
Guess they didn't get to see that ward, but you can see what the strategy is from China really early on. Once again, playing through mid here. So that's the bait that I was making a mention of. If Score tries to play to a 2v2 mid lane, then the worry is Sejuani passive is going to nail you, and the Irelia consistent damage and stun off her E is what's going to be the, cause the play to work in her favor. So for China, you want to see a 2v2 happen through mid lane. Irelia and Sejuani should win out.
They very well could, though Faker is trying to do his best to deny that as he's got himself a Blasting Wand first on that Galio. No Catalyst, he's going for the damage to try and get through the Sejuani and Aurelia's health before they get through his own. It's a risky play if it pays off, but now Score turning onto this marked Scuttlecrab gets there well before MLXG.
He might just want the AP simply to actually blow up the backline minions. Made minions.
Thailand ปูน Thailand ปูน เชียร์ Thailand สู้ๆนะครับ สู้
It's a Q at the very least, high enough damage so he can push out properly.
And you can see how important that mid-jungle matchup is as Faker and Score on your screen are just talking back and forth, calling out the players of Team China. Where are they? Where are they moving? How are the waves positioned? What vision do they have? What objectives can we look to take? Constantly communicating back and forth, whereas Team China doing the same. As you can see, Xie and Let Me constantly talking back and forth.
One of those answers could be the Rift Herald when it comes up in a few minutes, because can already see pressure top line is starting to work well for the Akali when she's starting to push out. And you already know what's happening through Aurelia. So one of Sejuani's greatest strengths is her consistent damage onto these larger objectives, dragons and Rift Heralds. And MLXG has always fancied himself a solo dragon or a Rift Herald. And if he can do that, if he has the control ward to be placing on it, then that's the way he'll go for it.
Well, he's still got 2.5 minutes on the clock until that Rift Herald spawns, but with that first dragon being an Infernal, that should be the priority for both of these teams, and a lot of that comes down to the bottom lane control, the Kai'Sa versus Ashe and Gragas versus Alistar. There's big engage on both sides, big damage as well from the Ashe and Kai'Sa, now that we see the Guinsoo's Rageblade on the way for Uzi and the Bilgewater Cutlass for Ruler. And with the wave starting to push up, and score on this side of the map, level 6 is picked up, and this could be the opportunity.
You could see something here. Kindred is in the area, so not close enough for her to just fire off the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but at least to have it in the backside of your head. Here we go, though.
MLXG is level 6. Faker and Xie both have their flashes back up. Xie lands the stun. Shield of Durand denies it. As MLXG walks through vision, just looking for an opening, looking for a single mistake or slip up, but not finding one just yet.
So this is looking good for Faker at the very least. I mean, close in CS, he's denied a lot of the plays that have been coming through from the Sejuani, and they've actually cleared a lot of vision towards Dragon. So you mentioned it, first priority could be the Infernal Dragon, and Korea is in a good spot to contest.
We actually just saw teleport used by Keen in the top lane. As Shen, he's got Stand United, so if a fight were to break out, he could be able to join up rather quickly unless Letme's able to assassinate him 100-0 before the Stand United completes, which is certainly a possibility with that Akali.
You can already see Core JJ and Ruler's attitude in lane changing. They're trying to get a push, which could play into this fight.
Ming just drops the cask. A good flash gets out of this, but that's immediately the follow-up. Glacial Storm lands. Uzi goes in and finds himself the kill alongside Ming. Score is forced to get in there as teleport is completed from Letme. He's looking for Score, trying to chase him down. The second perfect execution doesn't find the burst damage, but he follows him over the wall as Ming finds the kill, lands respite, but Score has got nowhere to go. Letme finds the solo kill.
Unreal, such a sticky champion, joins in the fight and he knows he can follow the Kindred. A massive win for Team China.
You can hear the fans chanting Team China fighting as they're now taking an advantage in this game. 700 gold ahead. Faker's holding down the fort in the mid lane as Keen is trying to counter push up top, but that's already an accelerated bottom, jungle, and top for Team China.
I hope we get another replay on that one because it really started with the attitude change of Ruler and Core JJ. They wanted to set up around Dragon. The key way to do it, step one, push bottom lane. They tried to do it, MLXG found the window to just jump on him. Uzi follows through, gets the initial kill, immediate teleport too, so everyone was plugged into the play. They knew that was coming through, and Letme joined in, you know, just teleported in, usually like, okay, I protected the play, but he's like, wait a minute, I found myself a Kindred. Not only blowing the ultimate from Score, but follows him for the kill as well.
Yeah, getting that flash over the wall to follow through. Now 3 kills to 1 for Team China. 2 of those onto Ming. He needs that extra gold to get nice and tanky so that he can keep that Kai'Sa alive as the game goes later on. But already we're seeing an advantage, though. Team Korea, they're going back to the scene of the crime and are setting up around this dragon.
Yeah, relentless. They wanted to set up to begin with around the dragon. It was stopped beforehand. At the very least, China knows that this is going to happen, so they're going to try and contest, but they've already taken a lot of damage on. They can finish it, smite it.
Teleport being started as Dragon has been picked up. Core JJ with no flash, with no unbreakable will, finds himself going down. That's a stopwatch, and Ruler finds the arrow. Still, though, Uzi happy to chase it, and Ming finds another kill. Xie setting up for the dive, though. Still no flash from Ruler as the minion wave crashes in. Good sidestep on the Sun and the Vanguard's edge, but Uzi takes the aggro. They are juggling it expertly and finds the kill in the end, but over the wall, forced to flash away, and Ming gets out before Score can follow up.
And she didn't get out.
He's getting the slow, mounting dread, flash away from the auto attack. Faker has got his own, though. though. There's no chance for Xie to escape, but he's going to turn on to Ming and set the stopwatch, denies it. MLXG is there. Xie steps up, denies the auto attack. Score goes forward, finds the kill, looks for Uzi, but dies instead. 6 kills to 2 for Team China.
Unbelievable that he couldn't get one. At the very least, he gets traded, but he had 3 members, all low in HP. All you needed from the Galio was just that 1 Q. He was waiting for it. Stopwatch baited you, buddy. Couldn't net him. So there we have it. Massive advantage for China in the end.
And this is so unprecedented for Team Korea. They seem to be taking the one-on-one coin flip fights, the 50-50s, the risky gambits, not the sure fights. And here we see it once again. Core JJ gets caught, and Score just goes a little bit too far to follow up.
It just starts from the positioning. There's no way Core JJ gets out of it, but they try and play, try and outplay it to begin with. So you lose the 1 kill. That is fine. You were trying to get the dragon. Issue here is Ruler's not going to get away from it because he didn't try and escape to begin with. It doesn't even matter that Xie used all of his abilities and missed. He just tried to zone him, so Ash had to stay underneath the tower. So big win from China, and it was just because they contested the players around the setup for the dragon.
And now it's a 1,600 gold advantage for Team China. As Team Korea, they're going to have to reset themselves after those early kills, after that early advantage, because the Infernal Dragon is still in their pocket. They've still got plenty of scaling with the Ashe and Kindred if they're able to make it into the late game and deny the dives from Xie and Uzi. But they're starting to step up. They found him. They know he's got no flash, and they're able to no! Uzi gets the kill! Stand united, and he finally goes down as Ming is running for his life in the 1-for-1 trade. But it very well could be 1 for 2 as Core JJ pens the Gragas against the wall, lands the stun, they chase it down, Score gets the kill.
Good challenge from Korea at the end of the day. They knew that Uzi was going to try and do something. He had that window ready for him. He had Gwinsu's picked up, so he wanted to fight. He pressed it at the right time. There we go, Ruler coming out with the Ashe arrow, headbutt pulverized. It was just insane to see the outplay. Using his Kaisa ultimate to get the extra shield, so he stayed up a little bit longer. So it was an outplay at the end of the day for Uzi to get the kill back, but it was still a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Korea.
Now Letme is working on the top tier 1 turret, looking to take that first brick. None of the turrets have been taken yet, but with MLXG taking the Rift Herald, we're sure to see one go down soon. And Keen is still even able to make it back top in time to defend that turret from Letme and deny that gold. But Faker heading over to the blue buff.
Blue buff's important. You also have Alistar nearby. It's difficult for a Galio to protect a mid lane push with Rift Herald. He's here just to see if he can get a fight ready. Xie could be the bait.
Oh no, Xie looking for the stun, but misses it. Taunt pulls him in, and Xie falls in, hook, line, and sinker.
He knew that there were at least 2 members there because blue was being handed off. Didn't expect Alistar to be in the area as well. So that was CC lockdown. No way for him to get out.
That's just the mind games from Team Korea. They find an opening and they pounce, and now what was 6 kills to 2 is only 7 kills to 5 as it's equalized 1 for 3 in the long run. And suddenly, Team Korea are getting back into this matchup, clawing their way back to even. Let's take a look at that once again. Xie, he had no vision.
Yeah, just trying to get some mana. Knew that he had MLXG beside him and that Kindred would be there, but he didn't expect a 3v2. He expected a 2v2. Of course, unfortunate that he fell down at the end of the day, but this is where you start having the conversation about Korea's composition. We had it pre-game that this was great if they were trying to stop the fights from happening, stop the engages from China, and play reactively. It's starting to work now for Korea, the proper trade bottom lane, and getting the pick onto Xie mid lane. So this is going to be a little bit difficult, a tough road for China for the minutes to come.
It is starting to stall some things out, but as you said, some big items have been completed. Gwinsu's for Uzi, like you mentioned. Blade of the Ruined King from Ruler to try and match that. Similarly, Faker has completed his Rod of Ages, and junglers are well on their way towards their own second items after the jungle item has been completed. But Xie has been stalled in the mid lane with that death. Still no Triforce, no massive Aurelia burst. And even Letme, despite being 150 CS, hasn't gotten the chance to recall and finish off that Gunblade. So if Team China want to look for a fight, they need to get a recall into that mid and top lane before they can open the map up.
Yeah, I just want him to have the Stinger really. At this point, the Aurelia wants to be having the constant damage flowing out, so no attack speed from the Stinger coming out. CDR could follow, so with the Trinity Force, once he gets that massive purchase, then he can find himself in the side lane. It really just depends on when Xie feels comfortable. He might have to join the fight because there's so many people just around the bottom lane, constantly just looking for a fight to happen.
Yeah, MLXG and Score both sitting outside of vision of the enemy teams, as both Ruler and Uzi playing around the ward saying, we see you, but do you see us? That's the important question. Turns out they both had vision of each other, and neither of them were having any intent of going in. And the wave continues to bounce back and forth. 20 CS for Uzi in the bottom lane ahead of Ruler. In the mid lane, Faker is 10 ahead, and in the top lane, another 30 for Let Me.
A difficult problem, a problem that Korea now faces. If they start and engage bottom lane, Gragas is playing so far out, so you'd have to start the fight on towards Gragas. He has himself the Glacial Shroud, fairly tanky too. So it's going to be difficult just because it's going to be the constant damage of Uzi in the backside, seeing if you can peel on towards the Alistar. And I think they have the damage with the Quincy's already being built up. So China, if a fight were to happen, they might be able to take it. It just depends if the double teleport comes in at the same time with Irelia and Akali coming in.
They've both got those teleports back up. Recall was finished for Let Me. He's level 12 with his second point in that perfect execution. He's finished the Gunblade and has a Blasting Wand as he heads back into the top lane to keep Keen busy, but that does mean the Dragon is now up. Team Korea are already setting up in the river. MLXG is about to run out of time on this Rift Herald, though. They might just trade a mid-tier 1 for what could be this Cloud Dragon.
Massive things coming out. Of course, that means that the Rift Herald must be being placed mid. It just depends where he wants to go at this point. He's just hidden in the jungle. I guess it's going to be leaning top side, so Rift Herald should be going top.
Let Me gets that first turret and finds himself with solo gold as Shelly the Rift Herald makes her way around to the tier 2. Keen tries to stall it, but she closes her eyes. And the second charge will land onto this tier 2. And Let Me still following up for more pressure.
This is going to be difficult for Keen going forward with the Gunblade being picked up now. The Akali has a lot of sustain. Won't be 100 to 0 at all. So the trade potential that we were talking about with Shen earlier on in the game does not matter. The only thing he has to worry about is defending the tower. So if Akali gets too close, you can counter, sure, but you can't get far away from your tower or this is going to happen.
Yeah, already Let Me trading. That's the Shadow Dash landing, but Score is there, and even the teleport from Faker out of base. Can Let Me outplay this? He uses the perfect execution, and MLXG with the save gets Let Me to safety.
That was so much expended to try and get the Akali top lane. At least she used her own ulti, but she's just going to come right back. I mean, nothing's really changed with her positioning, so it's going to be difficult for Faker now, knowing that he's going to be stuck mid, and if he ever goes bottom lane to pick up a wave, then he won't be online for a top lane fight, his teleport being down.
And it is only 40 seconds until that Baron spawns, so you want to keep that Galio nearby so that he can join in just in case anything were to happen. But still, we're 20 minutes into the game, and this bottom lane is pushing back and forth, trying to sustain it out. A very extended laning phase. But we do now see a lane swap. Xie, with his completed Triforce, goes top, and Let Me decides to stay towards this mid lane, as they could be trying to collapse here.
Yeah, it just makes it so Let Me on the Akali can actually help in the bottom lane dive. It's great because she can pick up the tower aggro early and then just dive into obscurity. So there's a lot of ways you can play it out. It does mean that the tankiness that Irelia provided early on won't be there in presence. So maybe she joins with the teleport, but it's going to be much harder for Shen to deal with her top lane. So she might just try and stay top.
Yeah, you can already see he's pushing Shen out of that lane. Xie keeping Keen busy at the red buff as they're playing around the vision. Now Baron has spawned. Score sets up a trap, but not the desired target walks into it. MLXG happy to push him away. Even though Core JJ was there to support, it seems as though Team Korea's earlier mistakes have slowed them down. They're being a bit more hesitant with their opportunities. We saw an attempted collapse up top, but that one gets denied by Team China. And now it's just constant maneuvering around this laning phase, is looking for an opening that Team China just isn't willing to give.
And this is interesting. You already see grouping up mid lane. Faker might get a flash off here.
Shield of Durand, yeah.
You have to respect it every time he channels it.
She is there. They might not have spotted, but they found Score. That's the hero's entrance for a knockup. No one gets caught. Void Seeker, as 5 members of Team China are grouped against the 3. Rulers on the side, still holding onto the arrow, and though Core JJ gets stunned, he's able to walk it off.
A lot of resources expended from Korea's side. No flash on towards the Kindred, and a Galio ulted just for defense, so that's actually a massive win for China. Next fight they go for could be the Galio that uses his cask in the next fight, that they can come out with a win.
Now Uzi starting to step up. He's got 2 items with the Gnasher's Tooth and Guinsu's. It's good old AP Kai'Sa, big plasma burst if he's able to get a handful of auto attacks. And they're starting to try and control these waves as Team China, without even breaking down the mid or bottom tier 1, swap themselves into a 1-3-1, sending that Aurelia and the Kali into side lanes to force Team Korea away from these important objectives.
It's a good adaptation here for Uzi to go towards the AP build. He knows that he has the AD Bruiser in the Aurelia, that she can be providing a lot of that damage and threat there. So having to deal with the frontliners of Shen, Galio, and Alistar, it's a good idea to rely on your passive damage to proc.
And we're still seeing them try to utilize that damage against these turrets. It's a little bit slower because of the raw stats being put towards the passive instead of towards attack damage or attack speed, but that does mean that he can step up in between these waves and start working on that mid-tier 1 turret. Still the split push. Faker's up top. Keen is down bottom. These 2 massive carries sitting on tanks and support roles on this Galio and Shen, and putting all of their investments into Score and Ruler, who find themselves just a bit behind at 0-3-1 and 4-2-0.
And it depends on how these fights pan out, because with how Kindred is doing in this game, that you already saw her being the primary target in the last fight. If you dip and dive into these fights, China tries to push in and then not commit, so they blow their resources initially, and then recommit to the fight, because they already have the Sejuani ulti, the Gragas ulti, and all you have to do is kind of use it in time. You don't have to use it all in one go. It makes it super difficult for Korea to win those fights.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to be looking for in the later team fights. And to your point around, of course, the AP damage you're going to be seeing out of Uzi, this is going to be probably his hardest window, because he's going to be looking to either build up his Zhonya's or Rabadon's death cap, and that takes a long time to do. So you might see China slow the game down so he can get the farm.
It's a very risky question as to what he decides to go for with that 3rd item. Stopwatch is so important, but you can't deny the damage of that Rabadon's. Still, Korea are defending wave after wave as they get pushed in. They don't want to step too far forward. They're starting to clear out vision on the top side. But look at this. The next dragon is spawning in 15 seconds, and it seems as though Team China are ready to fight for it.
Yeah, they would have to be able to. Remember, the 2 early dragons Korea got themselves here, so their dragon's going to be crucial.
Faker over the wall, gets a taunt onto 2, and Ming goes down before getting a chance to do anything. Uzi gets some damage onto Core JJ, but he's happy to soak it. With that support gone, all of that dragon setup goes down the drain. Team Korea find an opening, and Faker knocks it down.
Getting the kill means that they are now going to be netting the 2nd Infernal Dragon. No MLXG to try and steal it underneath them. Unfortunate for China, but a big pick for Korea.
Yeah, Team Korea not going to give this up without a fight. They find an opening and they take it. With that 2nd Infernal, they're still down about 1,300 gold, but happy to take these fights now that they know they've got the openings. And look at the vision that they're setting up across the map. They have got so many wards on that bottom side to enable Keen to push up into Let Me. It's risky because it is that Akali, but he's already got himself the Titanic Hydra and a Spectre's Cowl for sustain against this non-stop Akali damage.
Yeah, usually at this stage of the game, now that the Dragon's been picked up, you'd actually just abandon those wards. That sure, the Akali is going to be a major threat to the Shen later on here, but usually when Keen's put in this situation, he understands that he doesn't need the vision on the bot side, that he's going to play it back to his own tower. So on that end, you're going to be seeing the vision now go towards top side. 25 minutes into the game, the Baron is going to be a major threat. And so that's what you're expecting from Team Korea, and it's going to force Team China to respond.
And you can see Core JJ trying to step up with some vision from his team this time, not going to overextend, as his wards were what enabled Team Korea to find that kill onto Ming. Didn't even get the chance to flash or use that explosive cask and reset on that last opportunity. But he's getting a little bit more tanky now that he's got himself the Aegis and is trying to set up around the map. Still though, seems as though both teams are maneuvering around the Baron for vision, because now, as you said, this is the next big objective. This is the one that could break the game.
Sejuani has great Baron damage, Kai'Sa has great Baron damage. They can burst it if you don't give them the amount of respect they deserve. So it makes a lot of sense for Korea to be hovering over it. Every time mid lane pressure is pushed out by China and they move towards the Baron first, Korea is there just in case.
And now they might be trying to collapse on Xie. He's trying to play the 1-3-1 strategy, but Let Me is having some difficulty pushing bottom against Keen, especially now that the Adaptive Helm is also finished. That's going to put a damper on Uzi's plasma stacks later on. And still just setting up these traps, trying to bait Team China forward and play around this vision. The arrow is ready for Ruler. They've got plenty of engage if they want to try and find it.
You're right about the Shen, though. He's going to be a real raid boss as the game goes on. Pick being found here.
The arrow onto MLXG. A cask resets this as lots of plasma is stacked up. Teleport started and canceled by Xie as he's heading bottom. And that gets Korea into the mid lane a little bit faster than Team China, and they break down the mid-tier 1 turret, their first of the game.
Crucial objective to take mid lane if they're trying to get the Baron vision. Means that they can actually put down deeper control wards in the blue side jungle. So good win from Korea. Just having to expand a few abilities. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but has a low cooldown.
And this is the Team Korea's pedigree of being so patient, waiting for the right opportunity.
Oh, no.
For Team China, might be caught out here. Core JJ finds the knockup flash from Ming to get out of there. MLXG on the side. He gets over the wall as Xie is left all alone. The turret is already down. He splits off and flashes away. Team Korea, despite losing the laning phase, losing those kills early on, continue to find these openings.
Yeah, that was a great opening from Core JJ to look for a headbutt pulverize. He gets the flash, which is nice off the Gragas. We're going to have to see if he can ever kind of convert that.
Oh. Ming is on the side. He's found Faker. Manages to get the body slam onto Core JJ. He's got the ultimate. A cask knocks him back. They're going for the plasma, trying to kill the support. Faker goes in. MLXG is low, but goes golden. And there goes the Lamb's respite. Letme's ready to get into the fight. Uzi's trying to kite it out on the back, but he can't get through Keen. Letme steps forward and goes down. Ruler survives in the back, leaving Uzi as the sole survivor. Flash, slow, the arrow, long range will miss as Team China lose 4.
So well played from Korea, especially Score coming in with the Lamb's respite. So there is no way for you to net the kill on towards Core JJ, and at the very least extend the time so the entire 5v5 comes through. Akali tries to come in with a flank, but just completely denied. No way for her to really carry out a longer fight without obscurity.
As we said, it is so difficult in those extended engages, but now Team Korea, they found the opening, and they're turning onto the Baron. Ming making his way out of the base, and there is no chance unless Uzi can land a miracle Void Seeker. You can hear the fans chanting as they take it down. Team Korea find themselves in the lead.
A good response, and it really all starts on the support battle. You know, it's always fun to see the support fights. You see the crowd getting into it. It was a good catch to Ming, which turned into a great catch to Core JJ as you throw the cask into it. Take a look at this. Core JJ tried to find the flashless Ming, but the team was there to get the pick off to Core JJ. Moment Lamb's respite is ready. It saves Ruler, of course, who is getting flanked by the Akali, and they can re-engage around the Galio taunt. So then suddenly, there's no way you can assassinate Ruler any longer. State comes out of the fight with 1 HP.
Whoa, looks like MLXG gets caught very overextended, forced to dash away, leaving Uzi all by himself. Stand united, Keen eats a stun, and will not follow with a flash shadow dash. As Team China now forced to back away. Dragon's up in 30 seconds, and the stun will stop Team Korea from following, but looks like they've already got the Baron, they've got the wave prep bottom, and they're set up for this Dragon.
Great cast from Ming to stop Sejuani from, dying, falling in the hands of Korea. At the very least, Korea can go back and get the Dragon now. They just keep trying to fish for a kill.
Yeah, if they so desire. It seems like right now they're going to focus on turrets. We're 30 minutes into the game, and that's now the second turret being taken by Team Korea. This laning phase has been stalled and slowed so much by Team Korea to hold on to their mid lane, to hold on to their bottom lane. And despite the constant splitting from Xie and Letme, they're just not able to do anything, as that is triple Infernal Dragon for Team Korea.
There we go, team fight ready. And with the next one looking to be the Elder Dragon, there's no way you can team fight into the Korea. You have to be creative about it. Ming is going to be crucial if he can get the proper body slam and cast. We'll have to see if that's the case, but Korea's been playing very safely in the late game.
Yeah, the mid-tier 2 is broken. Faker already prepping the wave bottom. He's level 17 with a Rabadon's death cap after Zanya's. So not only is he tanky, but he is also going to do a lot of damage as his team collapses to finish off this next turret. Team China's window of opportunity is getting smaller and smaller as it's Team Korea forcing them to defend.
And it's such a hard job for Letme. Just take a look at him. He's trying to be useful, but he's going up against a Kindred with Hex Drinker and an Ashe with Maw Malmortius. If he tries to go into the assassination, there's no way you can do it, and put him in a side lane, And you already talked about the heavy magic as Keen has picked up for himself, so it's such a tough road for the Akali because the assassination is no longer a viable route.
I mean, even the Locket of Iron Solari to pop up an additional shield to keep his carries alive whenever he joins into these fights. There is so much denial out of Team Korea. Xie completes his recall as he heads back to base, but Baron still on Team Korea. They've broken down both the mid and bottom tier 2s, not getting to the inhibitors just yet, as Uzi will finally break down the bottom tier 1. But even so, look at how much has been invested to try and defend this. He's continuing to push up against Keen, and Team Korea are looking for the bottom tier 2 turret.
Yeah, a little bit too many people in the bottom lane. This is going to be a major push top
Keen
side.
is being dove. His health is going low. What? Forced to flash away, as I believe that was Faker getting involved in that play. The bottom tier 2 is traded. Looks like we might have a base race. Uzi trying to outplay this, but Faker is doing damage, and Keen finds the kill. Team China trying to base race, and it blows up in their face as Keen and Faker get the outplay and chase these down. They're losing an inhibitor top.
50-second death timer on Uzi. This should be the kill here for Korea. There's no reason for him to stop now.
Xie and Let Me, the two split pushers are forced to take a team fight. Teleport onto the cannon minion. Xie goes low, he dives in. Let Me step forward, but Faker joins the fray just as Ming respawns. Still, Xie dives as best he can. Let Me tries to stall it out, but the double kill, and Team Korea, 33 minutes in, turn onto the Nexus and even up the series 1-1.
Yeah, you think you can get the backstage access to the carries. There are too many bouncers in this club. Galio just not, allowing you to start those fights. Well, good job here to Korea to end the game off of what was a desperate run from China in the bottom lane.
Capitalizing on an overextension and aggressive play, the Korean fans cheering their home team on as they even things out and bring us down to a best of 3 between the Republic of Korea and the People's Republic of China in this matchup, as Faker gets the chance to take out his carry Galio, such a signature champion, especially against these Chinese teams, and shows, hey, this is something that you have to respect. Red side, blue side, ban or not, you've got to worry about this.
Yeah, stop it. That's just essentially what he was doing every single time. He was a great pick, I think was very crucial when Xie was getting the fruits in the river in the bottom lane, around the river. He can get the pick there. So while China was actually so focused on the 2v2 mid lane, you net the free kill on towards Xie, and a lot of the dragon pressure was then now in Korea's core, and they were able to take that home. Triple Infernal Dragon in there, man.
Yeah, and that was despite the laning phase going heavily in Team China's favor, using Uzi and Ming, constantly collapsing from MLXG, picking up those early kills, but not able to take the turret, not able to control the dragon, and just constant vision denial from Score, from Faker. The threat of collapsing, whether they would or not, was more than enough to deny China the opportunity to pursue.
Yeah, and I think the Galio was key to all of this. Remember in the previous games that we've come across whenever it's China versus Korea, Faker, he's going to play Yasuo, the Galio. You have to deny the Galio just because it stops a lot of what China is trying to do, especially when they're bringing back the Irelia and the top lane pick the Akali.
The Akali, yeah.
So a lot of dive threat didn't matter. Even in, put in the Kindred and the Shen there, so there's so much denial. It buys a lot of time for Korea to join the fight and to capitalize.
And we've got to remember that Akali first pick for Team China said, hey, we can flex this towards mid, we can flex this towards top. They tried to react with the Irelia, but Team Korea in the ban phase, they saved counter pick for Keen, and as we said, instead of putting him on a carry, they put him on a tank. They put him on a denial champion. It wasn't his presence on the map through split pushing that gave Team Korea the victory, but it was his presence in denying Let Me's Akali from assassinating any targets. 2
Akali games from Let Me, 2 losses for Let Me. And a lot of the times, teams would say, ban away the Akali, she's broken on this patch. The issue is she has one core weakness in her laning phase, and that's just being able to get pushed in pretty repeatedly. And this is through mid lane. So problem here now is for China, if you put Akali in the mid lane, you lose mid lane priority, you're losing the shove. Hey, maybe she does push into Galio, but if she goes bottom lane, Galio can follow up and save out that team fight. And then you put Akali top lane, sure, she's not going to be able to join the fights. Add in more tanks in the top lane, the Shen getting it for them through the Kindred jungle, and a Galio mid lane is, wait, suddenly we can't team fight and can flank. So I think that Korea, if they get red side again, keep giving away the Akali so you can have a tank in the top lane or something to deny her in the mid lane.
Well, Team Korea will get side selection in the next game as they are the higher seed. That's side selection in games 1, 3, and 5. And we can talk about those picks and bans when we get to them because Team China, they've got to show us something different. If even on blue side, they have to ban away power picks like Aatrox, like Akali. But over the duration of that game, it was Faker, Ruler, and Score who put out a standout performance through that mid lane Galio, through the Ashe, through the Kindred to open up the map. And despite Letme's massive damage against Heat, the only person who really damaged Team Korea was Uzi in those team fights.
Yeah, and that's where you really look towards this. Sure, Letme has the damage, but that's just the case of being a top lane, I would say, abusive matchup. Akali's just going to keep throwing out Qs, Shen's going to tank it, so of course by the end game you just say, wow, she does a lot of damage, but she's not able to do the decisive damage in those team fights. When she joined up, she was dealing with multiple Hex Drinkers. There's no way for her to get an assassination across. And remember, as we look towards our man of the match being Faker, the issue with picking up multiple dives into a Kindred is very obvious. It's the denial that comes through it. Oftentimes when we see the matchup of Nocturne versus the Kindred, it's that, well, yeah, sure, you can go in on the fight, but you're going to have to commit to a much longer fight than you would have wanted.
And I think that's what the Gragas was supposed to try and deny, but Ming getting caught out that one time at Raptor Camp might have stalled his ability to look for these casks, because anytime he steps up now, he knows he can be destroyed before getting that ultimate off. So constantly playing these mind games, playing whether or not Team China can look for the engage, or should they be the ones disengaging over the course of the game, and Team Korea being the ones to dictate that decision for Team China and only find those victories themselves. That said, we're going to go and take a quick break. It's now tied 1-1 in this best of 5. The Asian Games 2018 Esports demonstration event. We'll be right back with Game 3.
Thailand ปูน Thailand ปูนเชียร์ Thailand สู้นะครับสู้เย้ Thailand ไทยเชียร์ไทยพูดพร้อมกันว่าไทยเชียร์ไทยเย้สู้ดิไทยเชียร์ไทยในเอเชียนเกม 2018 ตั้งแต่วันนี้ถึง 2 กันยายน
ผมชายกลางมหา
พี่พศตอนนี้เขาไม่เห็นผมเพราะว่าผมอยู่หลังประตู
พศคือใครครับ นี่ผมถามแค่คุณคุยกับใครคุณก็ตบผม คุณก้าวร้าวมาก อีพศ
มาหาไปพร้อมกันวันศุกร์ 4 ทุ่มตรง อย่ามาสายนะจ๊ะ
สเปคผู้หญิงเป็นไงตัวสูงตัวเล็กในนี้ดีกว่าถ้าสมมติให้เลือกคนหนึ่ง
รอดูอาจารย์ไหมฮะ
ให้เทียบเลยแจ๊ดไต้ฝุ่นหอยถ้าสมมติตอบเอาใจใคร
เอาใจเหรอคะเอาใจก็ไต้ฝุ่นค่ะแขกรับเชิญนะคะอนุญาตเราต้องให้แขกรับเชิญ
เจอกันวันอาทิตย์บ่ายโมงครึ่ง
ไม้ทองคำเด็กสัปดาห์นี้เตรียมหาจนท้องแข็งกับการมาของพวกเขาเหล่านี้
น้องเจลลี่เหรอลูก
ใช่ค่ะ
โอ้ยทำไมน่ารักอย่างเงี้ยสวยๆอย่างนี้มีหนุ่มๆมาจีบหรือเปล่ามีแฟนหรือยังจ๊ะ
มีแล้วค่ะชีตุนกับไอเชนแต่ว่ามีใครมาจีบเยอะเลยค่ะแต่หนูชอบแค่2 คนตุนกับไอเชนเพราะว่าหนูไม่อยากหลายใจค่ะ
น้องนนท์
ครับ
น้องนนท์หิ้วอะไรมาลูก
ขนมเทียนแก้วทำเองครับแม่ทำให้ครับ
เอามาทำอะไรอะลูก
เอาไม่ให้กรรมการน้ำลายไหลเล่นๆครับ
อยากไปประกวดร้องเพลงอยากไปประกวดมากเลยเหรอน้องก็ร้องให้เพราะๆสิลูก
ครับแล้ววันนี้ฝันของเขาพวกเราพร้อมจะเติมเต็มให้เสียงปรบมือต้อนรับน้องเจ้านะ
ราะที่ทำเอาผู้ใหญ่อย่างเราต้องทึ่งเสาร์อาทิตย์นี้ 20:05 นาทีอย่าสายนะจ๊ะ
ไม่ได้ลูกกดแค่นี้ไม่ได้จะไม่ได้สักผ่านเลยต้องกด
แม่เอาก็ได้ค่ะ คุณป้าสุนารี
Semua harapan tentang diriku melewati semua, menghadapi semua rintangan. Jangan pernah menyombongkan diri di hadapan mataku, karena itu semua tak akan berarti bagiku. Jangan kau besar kepala. Jangan pernah sombongkan diri di hadapan mataku, karena itu.
What are we actually made of? Beneath the colors, beneath our similarities and differences, and our failures and achievements. We are the children of the universe. We exist to push all the boundaries. We are a never-ending flame, uncontainable, just like the sun. Listen to our eternal heartbeat as we march to greatness. We are the energy. Asian Games 2018. Energy of Asia.
Welcome back, everyone. We're about ready to get into Game 3 of the 2018 Asian Games Esports Demonstration event. Team Korea in the Game 2 equalized the series, bringing Team Korea versus the People's Republic of China to 1-1, and showing that characteristic dominance and control that we've come to know and expect from them. That control that was missing in Game 1, but under pressure, under threat from Team China, they're able to find it and reset to cool off, slow the game down, and absolutely pick apart Team China's composition.
Two highlight players for me from Korea. For me, of course, the man of the match, Faker, being on that Galio pick, really set the pace in those team fights. Another one, of course, was Score on the Kindred pick. So Kindred and Galio really nailed down the mid-jungle synergy, which was what defined Game 1 anyways. So it really feels like mid-lane jungle is what's really defining the series. CA and MLXG going up against what is Faker and Score.
Yeah, and we have to talk about that early laning phase from Xie versus Faker. He's been known to take solo kills against Faker in the past, but at level 3, stepping under the turret and overextending so that score could collapse around from the sign and get first blood just a minute later. Perhaps that could be the big differentiator in this series for dictating that mid-game matchup, at least for game 2.
Really bloodthirsty Xie was, because he went for the kill, of course couldn't get it. That's really risky. Well, probably would have died in that situation. Flashes back, stays in lane. While the teleport's coming through, of course you're gonna die. He really stuck his head out there while not communicating to his jungler to come and help him out. So that's what's gonna, I feel like, really dictate the laning phase in the next few games, because is Xie gonna be as confident as he was in game 2 to step forward in game 3? I am not sure about that. I feel like Aurelia, we probably won't see that again going into game 3.
I mean, we were even seeing him step up on the Lulu over the laning phase in game 1 against Faker's Rise, the champion on which he has a world's skin after that victory. So that we're seeing Xie continue to step up, I think bodes well, because you cannot sit back and passively let Faker take those advantages. That's what we saw in the matchup against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia when Faker was able to take that game 2 victory, not the game 1 where he died solo against the Katarina, but the second one where he was able to snowball with solo kills in the mid lane.
Yeah, he was able to do that so much within his own in Group A as well when they're going up against Vietnam. That's known for Ejin and Warzone, their jungle mid lane synergy as well. So Faker has been doing incredibly well with Peanut and Score behind him. So that's why it's so important early on in the game to find and inject confidence into Xie so he can really step up forward. And when the team fights happen around 30 minutes, then you can hand the baton to Uzi on later on.
Yes, of course, he does need to make it to that point in the game because he is so important later on. He's such a big late game investment, but you have to survive until he can fully come online and open the game up. You just saw him on your screen there, of course. He's going to be returning back to the Rift in this matchup, trying to bring down Ruler and Core JJ in this game 3. The laning phases have been going even between the two of them, which I think is a bit unexpected after we saw the last time these two teams played. Uzi and Mako and Ming, with both of the matchups that we saw, were able to take advantages against the bottom lane, regardless of their opponents. But now, Ruler is stepping up. He's not giving away lane advantages unless it's influenced from the outside.
It's not large lane advantages, correct, but there's still advantages going towards Uzi. He's able to get item leads, but then when Uzi tries to take the next step forward and try and net the kill, remember that bottom lane fight that was a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Korea? It's because the communication was so crisp that, of course, Score was there to back them up. So it's feeling difficult for Uzi because he's usually a lot more impactful early on in the game, because when he has a lead, he's willing to go for it. But, of course, that's how they lost that last one.
And this is where we get the contrast in play styles between these two regions. Despite being from 4 separate teams, the 5 players from Team Korea are communicating efficiently and effectively, maneuvering in such a way that they can deny Team China around the map. Whereas Team China, despite a majority of the members coming from Royal Never Give Up in the LPL, their communication just isn't quite as snap fast to react to these plays, and they find themselves falling behind in these instantaneous decisions.
Funny enough, it's because that communication does need to be at 100%, because it starts through mid lane. In mid lane, where's the change happen? Bringing in Xie is you either have to play towards Xie, which didn't happen in that last game, but it needed to happen in that last game, or what ended up happening in game 1 is that you pick up the Lulu and you try to move towards bottom lane. So we'll have to see if China is comfortable enough saying we are flexible, we can do both. And we're going to continue to either play bruisers mid or supports mid. Or if they just say, okay, we're a little bit more comfortable playing Lulu, we'll try and have a run back of game 1.
And this is where we look towards that pick and ban priority, how they set up Xie, that primary facilitator for communication for Team China. As we get ready to look into this pick and ban, Team Korea have side selection. Looks like we're about to get into it in just a moment. And they will find themselves back on the blue side for this game 3. And there it is, the Lulu ban.
China has to respond with a Galio ban at this point. I know that Galio is not going to be a first pick priority for Korea, but both these teams don't want it in the hand of the team that wants to aggress and dive, as Korea banned the Galio in game 1, or the team that wants to play it slower and deny, is what happened with Korea in game 2.
And we'll see which style Team China get to take. This time they find themselves on red side with counter pick. We'll see if they save that for Let Me once again, as it's double Aatrox and Akali. Team China don't want to risk it. And again, Korea, blue side ban away the Galio. Very interesting to see how this meta is developing, as Korea don't even want to risk first picking.
They were worried about China getting it in their 1-2, because Galio is not a first pickable champion, and if China gets to hand up Galio, remember, Let Me has played Jarvan in game 1, so Jarvan Galio, that's a composition that's very easy to play around. It has a lot of protection for Uzi. So there we go. Take that pick away. Also just incredible to see that China in red side have much more standard bans. They were already banning Aatrox in the past, but now netting the ban on towards Ryze, which is a flex between Faker and Keen, and Akali, which you're not going to pick yourself, makes a lot of sense.
And we do see the Varus pickup from Ruler, but it should be noted that a lot of supports are still open. Team trying to get their pick of the litter. Of course, excluding that Lulu, which has been banned away by Team Korea. And that engage, that facilitation has been so important for Team China over the series. Putting Ming on Rakan, putting Ming on Alistar, something that can have a large impact in these fights. Of course, with 2 of those champions open, that means he has to pick 1 of them, whereas Korea gets a follow-up with the second if they want to take an engage approach, or if they fall back to a defensive style with Braum.
I think Braum is going to be a pick here for China. Gragas and Braum are a great 1-2, great defensive pick, so you have a lot of slow in the team fights, or you can just start the fight with Gragas and follow up with Braum a lot more brutish. That being said, Xayah is the lock-in, which now begs the question, is Rakan going to be picked away from China? Rakan should be the lock-in. There we have it. Because you don't want the lovers duo being picked up by China.
Yeah, so much strength in that bottom lane, but now there's plenty of wave clear and plenty of engage for Ruler and Core JJ in the bottom. Team China could be trying to goad them into constantly fighting against Uzi and Ming, something that could be very risky, but now we get to see where the rest of Team Korea's composition goes.
Teams recognize that the Xayah goes off to the other end, or at least the Rakan that is, and they will pick up the Alistar. Alistar is actually great when the Rakan's picked away, because if Rakan ever goes in with his W, guess what? Headbutt, pulverize, that's how you start the fight, and Rakan is exponentially squishier in comparison to Alistar. So this is where you usually see Ming pick that up.
That being said, we've got ourselves a Gangplank lock-in for Keen, a champion that has been banned almost all of the times that these two face. It's a big carry, it scales into late game, and it absolutely destroys squishy champions like Xayah if it gets late enough. So the Alistar is picked up. We do now get to see some bans away from Let Me or Xie's top lane. We'll see which pick Team trying to get to show with their next setup, but Team Korea, they're already setting something up very strong.
I've got a hot hand on that Alistar, so what I will say is that now you're seeing Let Me starting to think up his picks. Darius is a possibility. Remember, one of the major weaknesses that the GP has is if he gets challenged in dive situations. And you know the Gragas puts in the jungle, great CC that's there, they just need the damage to follow up. So Kennen is technically one, but Let Me would go towards the Darius, and that the possibility of just going for the dives, being relentless in your top lane's pursuit.
You could look for the counter pick here and try to save counter pick for Xie against Faker in the mid lane, as LeBlanc is banned away from Xie. So might even try to prioritize the Orianna if they want to pick something safe themselves in that mid lane. Still a very strong champion, but now Team China have got to show us how they're going to try to round this out. You already mentioned the Kennen, something Let Me has prioritized, but it's actually going to be the Ornn up top. It's double engage, make that triple if you include the Gragas.
Yeah, Ornn is just calling out that they're going to fighting. They don't care that they're going up against a GP top lane. It's a bad matchup, but you have the shield that you can just CS underneath it. Maybe you can dive, but you'd have to bring in the mid laner, and that mid laner is where we're leaving off. What is Xie going to pick here? You already mentioned the Orianna. I think you just go for it because it's great for the composition. You have a lot of damage which you picked up from Luden's Echo.
Ooh, and Faker finds himself on Zoe in the mid lane. Xie, he's already been calling out this matchup by aggressing through the early lane phase. Ming with a bit of a smile as he takes Kassadin into the mid lane Zoe.
That's insane. I mean, major questions is what is Xie gonna pick in game 3 if he's confident enough to go for the counter matchup? And yes, he is. Highlight plays have been made with Xie on the Kassadin pick. It is always a major gambit, but when it pays off, Xie goes off.
And this is absolutely a confidence play from Team China. They set themselves up for team fights and scaling. That's all they want to do with this. But that means that the laning phase is going to be quite risky for them. And Team Korea, that's where they've been getting their strength this entire tournament.
Yeah, they have no range, by the way. China just doesn't have it. Bottom lane, they're going to get pushed in by the arrows that, of course, the Varus is going to be throwing off. They have the range advantage bottom lane. Push advantage should be for Korea. Mid lane should be similar. It's always going to be on the skirmishing, and they have the Olaf to look for those fights. I like the early game coming out of Korea.
And as the coaches shake hands, you get to hear the fans cheering once again. This venue is starting to fill up. As we get ready for this Game 3, the teams are tied 1-1, neck and neck. Team Korea owns the overall head-to-head matchup throughout the group stages, throughout the qualifiers. They have consistently come out on top. Now they are 2 games away from taking the first League of Legends gold medal. As we prepare to load onto the Rift, will it be Team Korea taking this victory and getting 1 game away from closing out the series, or will it be Team China trying to bring it back and show that they too can compete with the best?
About to get in. It's just so fun to see when these compositions clash. Who will come out the best. Now, already mentioned Team China. We'll have to see if they can do it. We're getting into game.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
As 5, the players make their way onto the Rift.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Seems as though the cheering, the fans are running their voices as ragged as we are, Raz, to constantly get these players nice and hyped up for this series. As 60 seconds on the clock so far, Score sets himself up, some nice aggressive vision into Team China's jungle. Ruler's even stepping up towards the blue buff to look for Uzi, and how appropriate that we get the double Samsung scans. But Ming, he's found them from the side. He's nearly in range for the double flash. He's able to get one. Ruler matches it. And Core JJ will back off as good piercing daggers will find Core JJ for some damage, constantly trading back and forth.
Good job to have just the Varus flash. So Varus needed to flash. If he got hit up by the knockup, then the Gragas was going to follow. There we go. I mean, you can look for bottom lane now if you're MLXG.
Yeah, Core JJ is still trading back against Ming. Taking that Gleaming Quill means he's got sustain and he's already back up to full health despite the flash engage from Ming. Now it should be noted, it is Hex Flash from Ming, so if he ducks into a brush, he can still pop out and look for some damage back. But now that Ming is finally back in range of the minion wave, he should be getting some of these Triumph stacks. But already, Team Korea are controlling this lane.
Yeah, they need to. You're getting to a point right now, you already mentioned the Hex Flash, so getting bush control is crucial. And you know that MLXG is going to be hovering over your lane, so as long as you get the control here, and you can call your jungler. That being said, Olaf is top lane. I don't think they expect this.
Now he's looped around up top. He's dodged through the vision. He's coming up behind them. The body slam is ready. Ruler has no flash. That's the ignite. He goes low, and he goes down. First blood to Team China's Uzi.
Don't know why they didn't expect it. Now, usually junglers that end up going in the bottom lane and starting there will stay bottom lane. So, flash being blown on the 80 carry, of course, MLXG is going to come right back bottom lane. They push up pretty heavily, and there's no Olaf to support them. So, at the very least, he can get something topside, going to steal out the red buff, but that's a great advantage for MLXG.
Score, as you said, getting that red buff. MLXG trying to finish off these Krugs as quick as he can, but Luku's making his way back into lane. It's Ruler. They were spotted out by a ward from Core JJ, who's starting to step up.
Here we go.
He's already level 2. That's the Gleaming Quill, but Ming lands himself the stun, and we're going back into the replay.
Go back in time. No.
As they're trying to get the kill onto Ruler, you can see they've made it out alive. Ruler and Core JJ made it under the turret.
All right, at least we can see a little bit of that. Nothing really happens there, but we're getting in a dicey situation, so it's always fun, you know. Get that,
keep you on your toes, yeah.
Go Sepia. To be continued. That's how we end it. Turn the stream off.
Exactly. Next time on this wonderful fighting episode, Score, he's going for a 3-buff start here, as he was able to get both reds and now is taking his own blue, but MLXG, he is non-stop roaming around the map. Teleport Gets Xie back into lane. MLXG is behind Faker. Flash body slam and the ignite, but he picks up the flash and walks it off.
There we go. He used the flash body slam to get in there. I mean, it was actually Faker's flash's own, so good job. He ends up picking the flash on his way out. But there we have it. You can see what the strategy is for MLXG. He knows he has two lanes that are getting pushed in underneath their own turret. Just means that he has stronger ganks. One bottom lane that nets the kill, and one mid lane that has the flash of Faker.
Now that is even more opportunity, constantly channeling that Hex Flash to keep CoreJJ and Ruler, who seems to have completed yet another recall. He did die a second time, as I believe that was something that we did just miss. Meanwhile, up top, Let Me trading with Keen.
Here's what I want to see. Xayah's basing with 2 kills in her pocket. I want to see how much gold she has to pick it up. So this is what we missed. The dive that came through. Alistar deals a lot of damage and can tank for some time. So isolated, Varus ends up dying.
Yeah, Uzi and Ming, just this 2v2 duo, one of the strongest in the world. They see an opening and they capitalize on it immediately, knowing there's no summoner spells from Ruler. The BF sword boots start from Uzi. What was supposed to be a strong laning phase from the Varus Rakan, starting to look a little bit dicey as Xie just keeps on taking harass in this mid lane. Faker has got non-stop wave control, but he's not able to do anything with it just yet, though. Scoring CoreJJ might be trying to set something up. MLXG caught in the grand entrance. He's jumped down low and dies. Score finds the first kill for Team Korea.
Good call on that one. They knew he didn't have flash, so there was no way for him to get out of there. Calling in CoreJJ, and now it looks like they're setting up for a mid lane dive. One of the major weaknesses of Kassadin is keeping himself safe under tower.
So close to level 6, but isn't there yet. He needs to get that Rift Walk in order to escape from this, as even Uzi is backing away. That's the Predator. Now he sees Score. He's forced to turn and run back to the tier 1, but the Undertow misses. He steps up, lands the snare, and Score can't walk forward. CoreJJ and Let Me trying to turn this around. A knock-up. Battle Dance forces Score's flash out of this. The flash, the knock-up over the wall. Let Me wants it, and Let Me has found it. He gets the kill. MFG collapses. Xie's level 6. He's got the Rift Walk, and Faker is forced to run and hide, as this is 5 kills to 1 for Team China.
That was disastrous for Korea. They tried their hardest to get the kill on towards Uzi, but the members kept coming from China, teleport through from Let Me to hold him down, and then gets the kill. So excellent early game from China immediately. Now you see Ruler on the back foot.
Things are looking very dire as the Team China fans are chanting as loud as they can. The Team Korea fans trying to match it and provide that enthusiasm. As we take a look at that once again, it all starts from a dive setup, and Team China just turn it around.
They just did not expect how much damage Uzi was going to output, because before the teleport even came through, Score was at half HP, made it easy for the follow-up from Orin to come through, and the flank from Xie to boot. They were all ready for the play once Uzi was safe under tower.
Oh, and he even gets the kill on the backside onto Faker. 3-0-2 with Berserker Greaves and that BF sword. The Kassadin, level 6, 1-0-1, no longer has to worry about that early laning phase against the Zoe. And despite Score picking up the first kill for Team Korea, he's got to be able to do something more with it, as MLXG happy to sacrifice his jungle farm to set up these massive lanes.
Yeah, he hasn't even completed his jungle item. He's not concerned about it. Predator Gragas means he's just going straight towards his first dude, so just does it now as he's based. But now he's online with his Predator. He's going to be looking towards one of these lanes, and he has the Alistar in the bottom lane. Why not just make a second visit?
They might be setting up for Let Me up top. Score trying to control this vision. Even Faker is on this side of the map as they're stealing away the red buff. But MLXG, look at that. He's not even going towards the top side. He's not playing towards Let Me at all. Instead, playing towards the bottom half of the map. Now, Team Korea did set up some defensive vision, so they do spot out MLXG over there. They know that Xie is still in the mid lane, so there isn't a huge threat for any collapse onto the bottom tier 1 just yet, but this could be Team China looking for an opening.
To your point earlier, this is just the risk that your style comes about. Level 6 for Olaf, and he's now moving towards level 7 because of the experience he's been focusing on. MLXG is not even 6 just yet. So with how much he's been helping out his laners, he needs to start helping out himself. Once he hits 6, he can help out the lanes, get the cask ready for him. But as of now, he cannot so much look at Score.
Yeah, complete self-sacrifice in the jungle. But as we said, this does give Score a large opportunity to try and take a trade, try and bully that Gragas out even more. It's still, though, Xie constantly trading back and forth against Faker under this turret, as Faker is starting to get some damage, whittling down onto it. In the bottom lane, Rulers only 13 CS down, but 3-0 and 2. Uzi is scaling up very strong as he looks for that Storm Razors. And now MLXG will unlock him.
Yeah, once he gets Storm Razors, that's when Ruler has to back up. The biggest thing about Xayah is, yeah, she has pretty low range, but her feathers actually make her effective range rather long. It means that you can't play into her. If you try and look for a fight, the back-end damage from her feathers, especially once they're past 3, gets the stun and massive damage. Here comes MLXG.
That's the Predator, and Xie's there too. Chains of Corruption misses. Ruler's the target, pinned against the wall. Double knock-up, and Uzi is on a rampage. Core JJ escapes, but still Team China playing towards that bottom lane.
Flashes over the Recon W. No way that he was going to be sticking down there. So was able to just get right on top of Ruler. Now this tower is going to be the next focus for China.
You can see a fight on both sides of these walls as Score looks for the Krug camp. Even the cannon barrage out of Keen used to clear out this minion wave and try to stall this snowball.
It depends on how risky China wants to play it. The next wave is coming in hot too. It's a cannon wave as well. You can see Gragas still in the area. If they want to, they can try and look for this tower, but you can see Korea is ready.
Score sitting in the brush along with Core JJ. MLXG has no flash and has no ultimate, but he's still playing towards that top side, and here we get to see that dive attempt once again.
Look how decisive it is. The moment the wave is coming through, at the very least, like, Korea recognizes this is going to be an issue. So they're going to be heading on towards their second tower, but, you know, Predator Gragas, hell of a drug, already there. Throws him into the wall, flashes over Recon W, so very easy for them to net the kill the moment they've already got him pinned to the wall.
And from that, they're starting to work down that bottom tier 1 turret. Keen, meanwhile, has been snowballing up top. He's about 25 CS ahead of Let Me and is scaling up. That cannon barrage is going to start doing some damage as he looks for the Triforce completion. But bottom tier 1 still holding, but only barely. Storm Razors is finished for Uzi. He hits like a truck if he's able to bring down that turret. That could unlock Ming around the map and allow Team China to snowball the game, but MLXG has found Let Me, forced to take the searing charge back towards the turret as he flashes away from Score's undertow.
Yeah, behind enemy lines, he had to get out of there. They didn't expect the Olaf to be topside because Uzi was like, all right, I guess I get a free tower bottom lane now.
That's the trade. Now Faker's up top. They manage to catch MLXG as a sleepy trouble bubble from Faker finds him, but the knockup goes sideways and denies any follow-up. Score and Faker at lower health over the wall. Xie finds a kill onto Faker as Ruler gets dove again in the bottom lane.
Advantages across the map from China because as we just pan away from the disgusting plays top lane, bottom lane's another dive. Score has to get out of there.
Predator gets Score to safety, but only just. He finds a revenge kill onto MLXG, the second kill for Team Korea, but 12 minutes in, it is 8 kills to 2, and Uzi is massive, 5-0 and 2, breaking down the bottom tier 2 turret, only 12 minutes in.
Ruler and Core JJ their cries are happening, they're calling for their team, they ain't being hurt. Top lane dives galore, at least Korea would have gotten something had the dive top lane worked, but Xie comes in, gets the kill on Faker, and at the same time, just knowing that everyone's on the top side of the map, Alistar just goes for it on towards Ruler. So 2 of their major carries already far behind.
Now they're looking towards this Mountain Dragon. Team China trying to expand this advantage. And the Score is nearby. He's got no smite, he's got no flash, he's got no chance. As Uzi heads back to base, not even staying to finish things off, that does leave MLXG all by his lonesome to finish off the Mountain Dragon, adding just a bit to the time. But he locks it down, no problem. 3 health left. And it is 2,500 gold for Team China as they are opening this game up and denying Team Korea the late game that their composition so desperately wants.
This is the play that we kind of missed out on because you already saw the damage coming through from Ornn. He just wanted to lay enough damage, so this comes through. Of course, the Kassadin nailing the kill on the Faker. They try for a little bit more, but the stun was there. So, hey, you know, at least he gets out. Keen is out of there. He has to blow his flash, though.
Yeah, MLXG trying to collapse and flank onto Score, but doesn't have any follow-up from Xie or Let Me, ends up dying. Minor mistake, but still big advantage to Team China, as now they've put Uzi and Ming in this mid lane to control waves and start working down the mid-tier 1 turret. They've got priority towards Dragon and Rift Herald right now.
It's so damaging here for Korea because this should have been a composition that they had an early game lead with Olaf, Varus, and Rakan. The problem is, 13 minutes into the game, 2K gold lead in China just because of the fights that have been happening, just strewn us across the map. So now, this is working well for China. Their composition needed to come online late game, but I guess it's already gotten to the point. Storm Raiders already there for Uzi, and Kassadin's going to be on a side lane.
Look at that. Faker is forced to clear this wave that's constantly being pushed in by Uzi and Ming. You can see the roam around that mid towards the Rift Herald. Scuttlecrab was taken by Score, and though the vision is being cleared out, that's still 4 members from Team China sitting in the river and controlling this half of the map. Ruler's top lane is still unsafe, as he's not even finished his Blade of the Ruined King, going on 15 minutes.
0-4-0. It's just tough to swallow for any AD carry in this kind of position, getting dived underneath their inner tower.
Now that's Score actually trying to collapse onto Xie, it looks like. He turns around, caught by Core JJ as Uzi looking for an opportunity in, but that's a good charm from Core JJ. They managed to get the shutdown onto Xie as Team China overextend for the blue buff. They get it, but lose their mid laner. Sleepy Trouble Bubble is ready. Let Me turns around to sacrifice himself. And Team Korea find an opening.
Indecisive from China. Sure, they were looking for the blue buff, but they didn't know exactly what they're trying to do. Either fully engage or just try and steal it away. And it's Xie that ends up dying at the very beginning. So what should have been a Rift Herald pressure from China gives it all over to Korea now.
They had set up so much vision, but the one direction they didn't anticipate an attack coming from was the one behind them. Score and Keen collapsing to find the flank and forcing China to split up. They find the kills, they find the Rift Herald. They could find an opportunity back into this game.
Yeah, if you make a mistake against this composition Korea has, you will get chased down. Olaf there with Predator is going to chase you down, multiple slows there. And the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, if one hits, it's going to keep hitting. Lower cooldown with more that it sends out. So that's the problem that you have here. A lot that Korea can use can take an advantage that they have and then turn it into a large one. As the game goes on, 30 minutes and beyond, that could just be the difference between making one mistake and a team wipe.
Currently, that mistake could be the mid-tier 1. China trying to catch the recall timing of Team Korea. Ming actually going for the knock-up, but that's a grand entrance. He's caught by the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but a Gleaming Quill sets him free from that nap, and he escapes. But this time, we're seeing Team Korea learn from their mistakes. That recall in Game 1 cost them the mid-tier 1 turret. That same play cost them the mid-tier 1 in Game 2. But this time, they're defending, and it takes a much larger investment from Team China to break it down.
Yeah, you can already see them playing a lot smarter and just side by side. So, with the early game, you saw Ruler and Faker being the opposite side of the map. Now they're just pretty closely knit, knowing that if they're going to get any pick, it has to be together.
That being said, that does mean that Team China will have to invest so much more to find those kills. Rift Herald still sitting in Score's pocket. He's got about 2.5 minutes left on that duration, so plenty of lanes to choose from. Just needs to wait for an opportunity for Team China to make a mistake. The mid-tier 1 already taken so low by Faker's presence during the laning phase. Bottom already chunked down to half. Even top has taken some damage from Keen.
The good thing about the Rift Herald is that it's just a flat denial from China having it. I don't see much value in Korea being able to use it because they can't follow up if it goes in towards the second tower. The moment it does, you'll see Kassadin on a flank alongside the Gragas pick. China wants the fight. Korea cannot give it to them, so they have to use the Rift Herald, but then abandon it.
Very well could be the opportunity for Team Korea if they want to try to pull Team China apart. Of course, plenty of flexibility with where he ends up playing that. That's where Team China need to rely on vision to track where that Olaf is going so that they can react appropriately for when that Rift Herald gets dropped down. But they've got control of the bottom lane through Let Me, pushing the wave into Keen and trying to keep him busy down bottom. He's sitting on the Ignite for now, as Unsealed Spellbook has not cycled back over to that teleport, so it is a brief teleport advantage for Keen. but still it's constant maneuvering around the vision. Where is Score going to go and where is he going to drop that Herald? Especially now that it's 30 seconds to the next dragon and 90 to Baron.
For how long it's been stalled out, it's going to turn into a trade. It's going to have to be China saying, hey, maybe you take the top lane tower, but we've already set up towards a dragon. We'll be able to get a second dragon for our team. That's where China would end up being able to like give away, let's say, a Rift Herald push.
Now they are setting up a trap on the bottom side of the jungle. That's one way to do it. Call of the Forge God, they've found Keen. He's got a flash, but isn't even going to try burning it as they find the kill. Uzi is dominating as he finds yet another kill.
That's the benefit of taking an inner tower pre-20 minutes into the game.
But look at the trade. They see the Rift Herald used up top, and they're looking for the inhibitor turret pre-20 minutes. Core JJ is forced to back up. Ming eats a huge hit from the Paddle Star, but the inhib turret goes down. MLXG eats a Paddle Star and is forced to step back. Uzi caught by the slow, but a snare prevents Ruler from stepping forward. And look at the damage from Xie. Core JJ gets forced back in a flash. Sleepy Trouble Bubble has found Uzi. He heals, and his team is set to block and keep him alive. Ming takes the hit as that's Ignite used onto Faker. He doesn't find the kill, but he stalls this out.
Yeah, you had to be aware of the Sleepy Trouble Bubbles coming through, not just because it's going to pick out Uzi, but because it slows down the pace and allows the rest of the team to chase him for a fight. So, at the end of the day, that's a really good trade from China as long as they can hold the top lane turret from dying.
I mean, they're certainly trying to. Xie is on his way up there to clear out Rift Herald. And with Score back on the map, he's able to dissuade Team China from stepping onto the Dragon. It is only a cloud, so not huge incentive, but with the mountain already stacked up, that does reduce the impact of an inevitable Elder Dragon if this game goes on long enough. So the trade ends up paying off. Inhib turret for a top tier 1.
Right, roll the dice. Let's see what the next dragon is. We'll stay as a cloud dragon, which is actually good for Korea here. Olaf with Predator chasing you down with in-combat movement speed is going to be a big plus to Score.
Oh yeah. Landing those undertows suddenly becomes so much easier when you can close the gap. Now Keen is split pushing bottom. Let Me gets caught recalling, refreshing that health and mana pool, and picking up some items along the way. Keeps the bottom tier 1 standing, but still no teleport from Let Me. Means that he's going to have to try and react to Keen and keep him in constant vision, especially now that he's got the way all the way cleared down to that inhibitor on the bottom half of the map. But still, Team Korea, there's still plenty of opportunity for them to set up vision around there and prevent any sort of plays, whereas Team China are free to play towards mid and top.
I think the vision Korea has to set down are defensive vision in the top side. Baron is going to be something to look at. It's been up for about a minute now. And if Let Me has a great flank teleport to use, then that's going to be the go-to for Team China. It's so hard for Korea to flank down the Xayah because Uzi, of course, he's going to have his summoners. He already has his flash. He gets his heal. That's going to be great for him. And then he has his ultimate still available. So it's so hard to dive on back. And if you have the teleport coming in from Let Me, it's a great fight for China.
And it is so important to bring Uzi down. He is 6-0 and 2 with a completed Infinity Edge, but they're looking for Faker and they found him. He lands a Trouble Bubble, but look at the damage. Uzi is godlike as he finds that kill. And now Let Me is in the mid lane using a long-range Call of the Forge God. Piercing Arrow is ready. Lands on Gromp.
Routing them to the top side of the map. I wonder if they're going to go towards the Baron or continue to push through mid. Not really making a decisive call here. It's going to be hard for Core JJ to come back into the mid lane.
They're buying time for Xie to push top for the tier 1 and further limit the mobility of Team Korea around the map. Open up these opportunities for Let Me to land the big Call of the Forge God knockup. Xie, with his completed Rod of Ages and that Zhonya's Hourglass, finishes off the top tier 1 and even goes so far as to deny the minion wave.
QSS just built up by Uzi, even finished off his Infinity Edge. 3 items and a QSS. Uzi is such a good position right now in these fights. We already mentioned how slippery he was going to be with his ultimate. Now, I wouldn't even touch him at this fight. You have to try and focus on the Gragas or the Kassadin before you even touch towards the AD carry.
And that is a very scary proposition when you consider that that is a Gragas that is building tank. That is a Kassadin who is highly mobile with his Zhonya's and the Flash. If that's the trade-off that you've got to worry about, then Team Korea might be in trouble. But Score, he's trying to set up some vision around this Baron pit, but Team China just group up once again, playing the exact same vision game, the exact same play. If it worked once, don't try anything fancy. Just keep on doing it to open this map up. Paddlestar looking for some damage. Even the Sleepy Trouble Bubble zones them away, but Team China are just controlling their waves.
And I think Korea now has to change their priority. I mean, looking for Sleepy Trouble Bubbles were nice before, but now they're just, you've gotten to a point in the game where Alistar can tank it for free along with Horn. It has to be around the barrels that Gangplank has. Gangplank at this stage of the game is in the bottom side, but if he joins up with the team, he already has a hefty amount of damage. If he can just poke down the Captain or Uzi, that's your way to come back.
Ooh, that one lands, but just out of range. Ming is able to walk away without taking that chunk of damage. As he said, even though it is reduced against that Alistar, doesn't want to take the damage for free if he can help it, especially setting up vision around this Baron. Let me once again groups up with his team the moment his Call of the Forge God is off cooldown.
He has Warmogs too. It's incentivizing for them to play around Baron. They can just continue to touch it, and then if they feel like they need to move back, then he gets the full health back.
Now Keen is split pushing bottom. Team China see this is happening. They trade the bottom tier 1 turret and turn onto the Dragon. They've cleared out vision in the river. Ming and Xie are there on the side. Core JJ steps up. He's got the flash, quickness, grand entrance, even the teleport from Keen. He immediately follows it up with that teleport and the cannon barrage. Ming eats the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. And the teleport is completed, so they're grouped up as 5, but the Baron is dissuaded.
It's good that the damage came on towards Xie and MLXG, because if any more damage came on to Let Me, remember he had Wormogs. He was tanking the Baron for free for a reason. He knew he was going to be able to heal back. So basing from China as a whole means a free tower for Korea mid lane.
Yeah, not just 1, but 2. The bottom tier 1 turret and the mid tier 1, bringing it to 3 turrets to 5, and they've already chunked out that top tier 2. We're at 25 minutes into the game, approaching that late game mark. Gangplank at 2.5 items. This recall is going to net him something big at nearly 300 CS, 25 minutes in. Keen has been split pushing to his heart's content, and if he manages to find Uzi in a team fight with a barrel, with a parlay, that is a very, very dead Xayah. Still, it's a constant vision game for Team China. They've found picks before. Can they find them again?
Yeah, it's possible. I think they have a lot of good CC, and they're still staging a fight around Baron. Their plan is not going to change anytime soon. It's going to have to be Korea setting up an even better fight around Rakan's ulti. So they can get the charm, maybe a follow-up on Varus ulti, then they can try and pick at the very least, I would say Ming. Ming is the person you want to find out. If you blow his ultimate, then you can always re-engage.
Let me feigns aggression as he charges into the wall. Xie is split pushing bottom against Keen, level 15 to level 16, as Last Whisper was the item purchase. He's forced to rift walk away. That barrel lands, and Xie uses even more of his mana to back out, but the Cloud Dragon has spawned, and they've got control over mid and bottom. Team China could just take the consolation prize instead of looking for a pick, but that leaves them off the side of the map with that Baron.
This kind of changes things. The fact that Xie can't take that 1v1 versus Keen, but here we go, Ruler's caught out.
Ming has found him. That's Blade of the Ruined King. Looking for the stun and lands it. Call of the Forge got in the cast, pulls him back in. He flashes sideways to dodge the knockup. Ming tanking these hits, but flashes away. Uzi steps up, and that's Core JJ flashing out of this as Keen lands a big hit, but Uzi's still standing.
So close to get the kill on towards Ruler. That was a perfect cast from the Gragas. But they know that he's had to a base now, which means the pressure is there towards Baron. If I'm China, you just started.
The wave is pushed in. Uzi's back at full health, and like you said, Baron could be what Team China turned towards. There's lots of vision from Team Korea and Faker sitting in the river. Seeing that, Team China instead just to set up some vision, play it safe, and play it defensive. They don't want to risk turning it or taking any team fight that could go sour because death timers are getting pretty big. While they still have an advantage, it's not as large as it once was. Only 2,500 gold lead for Team China.
Yeah, lost team fight will turn into an inhibitor for sure. And that's where the problem is lying, because China found that window. Base timing on the AD carry should have meant Baron for them, even a better team fight if Faker and Score tried a challenge. But they decided against it, which means that the threshold for what makes a better team fight for China is a little higher. It means that they need to get a better cask if you are MLXG.
And that's constantly playing around the vision, looking for those flanks like we just saw onto Ruler and Core JJ. 3 summoners down on them means they could try to look for the same 2 players, but already Team Korea are moving as a unit to deny that. Mercurial Scimitar has been picked up by Uzi, so he is absolutely huge at 4 full items, level 15 in this game. But once again, despite a strong and absolutely dominant laning phase from Team China, Team Korea have been able to stall it out and deny any further presence from Team China. They made it all the way to the inhibitor res, but they haven't been able to break down the base and get closer towards the Nexus than just that push. But, ooh, that Paddle Star, very close. Sleepy Trouble Bubble forces him to feign back and score, lands an undertow.
This is because there's no wave clear here from China. Ornn and Kassadin need the setup, and here's one.
That's the call of the Forge God. Cannon Barrage steps forward. Faker forced to flash away. Ming with a three-man knockup. Core JJ looking to go in from the side. They found Xie. He activates the Zanyas, but Uzi steps up, finds himself the first kill. Blade of the Ruined King. Heal matches it. The flash. The auto. He gets the double kill. Cleanse to get away from the Sleepy Trouble Bubble and finds himself yet another kill.
It was just enough, and it was so close, too. Xie would have died in that situation, but he had the Zonyas, held it tight, stayed alive, and that's a 2-for-0 for China.
Now the Baron is started. Blue Trinket spots this out, but with Let Me tanking, Team China are going to shred through its health. Uzi is huge. Score and Faker along with Keen are in the mid lane. They're not even going to risk heading over towards the pit with Xie zoning them away. And the Baron goes down. Team China are back in the lead.
What a series this is. Every time you have any doubts towards China and them being able to find a team fight versus Korea, they get thrown away immediately. Good picks across the board. It starts with a triple knockup coming in from Ming. So take a look at this, because this is key. Horn slowing down Faker. By the time the fight really starts, Faker's out of it. There's no way he wants to join this anymore. And then you can see people grouping up. First kill from Uzi. He follows it because he's got that movement speed. He flashes forward too to get the second one. He is massive this game.
Oh yeah. 9-0-2. He has truly come into his own, perhaps ascending to that top tier status that he has been chasing ever since Rift Rivals, ever since MSI. And now, could it be enough to close out this Game 3 and bring Team China to 1 win away from taking the gold medal? Still, they've got the Baron buff, they've got the opportunity to siege, and Xie is heading back bottom to finish off that inhibitor that has been started so long ago.
Right now, Uzi's packing a punch. He's got his Zeal as he's closing up his item build, and it's now getting multiplied by the Infinity Edge. It's just been there, giving him 60% crit for a little bit, but now as he's starting to close out his build, he'll be at 100% once he's finished it up. So, really well done. Uzi's going to be who you play around.
Bringing in these Baroned up creeps all the way to the middle inhibitor turret. Xie is escorting the wave bottom as Let Me is trying to stand bodyguard along with Ming in front of Uzi. But whoa, Xie and Ming find a kill onto Faker. Uses the Ignite, but with no flash, he doesn't escape. And suddenly this siege became a whole lot scarier.
It's all going to be on this next wave. Kassadin's just going to look at his watch. He's like, all right, yeah, sure, three of you, do what you want. But the mid lane is what you have to focus on. The dive is so real, and Kassadin is going to be there to join him.
Xie still ready for the flank, clearing out the minion wave, lands some damage onto Keen, but that's the Predator. Middle inhibitor turret goes down, and now they're turning onto the mid and bottom inhibs at the same time. Mid goes down, but Uzi backs away, leaving Xie to finish off the bottom. It too will fall, and Team China take their advantage and don't risk it, backing off.
Conceding the world, Korea is. The fact that they just conceded their mid lane tower and inhibitor really showcases how confident they were that they were just going to lose that fight. So don't even want to touch it. 2 inhibitors down now. This is going to be one more fight to end the game.
And this is Faker looking for a flank on the side. Let's see how he ends up getting caught here. Core JJ is there.
So going back bottom lane is important because the Kassadin is how they got the kill. You had to be looking for it.
There it is. The portal jump and just lands the CC with Xie the exact same moment he steps up, landing the damage to burst that Zoe down. And with no flash, Faker again, no chance of escaping. Super minions now mid and bottom. Baron about to wear off for Team China, but they've still got plenty of time to put pressure on the map and look towards that final inhibitor turret.
It always comes down to how focused you are to play your style out. Playing a Zoe this late in the game, you're just looking for that one great Sleepy Trouble Bubble to get the poke down. But if you're just focusing all on that, you'll lose full vision of what's happening behind you. So yeah, Kassadin's been there for some time in the bottom lane, and he was just so zeroed in on the push on mid lane that he completely forgot about it.
Now the top tier 2 has fallen.
hangatkan hatimu, berikan energi di dalam semangatmu. Tegaklah berdiri, terbanglah kau tinggi. Inilah saatnya namamu bergema, maknai kekalahan sebagai kemenangan yang tertunda. Jangan pernah berputus.
Alistar just using their heads, walking forward and giving space towards Cassidy and Zaya. Just gonna try and for this inhibitor. Now they've got a cannon wave behind them, so I wonder if that's gonna be enough. Because you think this is bad.
Xie is pushing in mid. Super Minions are still pushing in bottom. It's 90 seconds to the next dragon. But still no Baron just yet. MLXG gets split off from his team. Score thinks of engaging, but that's the call of the Forge God. Faker gets his flash, immediately forced to use it. Cannon Barrage, looking for the disengage. Core JJ still holding on to the flash quickness, but decides not to follow the barrage, and Team China bait out the ultimate.
Yeah, no ulti from GP. They're gonna go all in to get this inhibitor now.
MLXG body slams forward, but Core JJ doesn't flinch, holds his ground. Good knock up onto two. The follow-up from Ming. He's found it, and Ruler's already dead. Uzi steps up as they're chasing in, and Core JJ is forced to use the quickness to disengage. Uzi continuing to look for damage.
In and out from Xie. So every single time they try and focus him down, he just jumps out of the fight.
Uzi steps up. He's looking for score, and he finds it. Finds a double kill. Turns onto Core JJ under the fountain. He goes low and gets the triple. Core JJ survives, but Uzi sees the opening, and he takes it as he turns onto the Nexus turret and breaks it down. Team China are one win away from taking the gold medal.
Match point, tournament point. They are so close to being able to nail it down, and you are seeing a much more patient China. People's Republic of China recognizing that they have the composition to end the game. Uzi had all of the check boxes listed. Fed, 6 items, he's got it. The tanks all in front of him, he has the safety. And so all he needed was his front line to move in. You can hear it from the crowd. They are that close to being able to take the gold medal.
Only one game away. They show the confidence that they need. They set up with the snowball during the lane, and despite Team China Team Korea slowing things down during the mid-game, they still find the openings that they needed to break the game open. Playing off of Letme's horn, landing those massive Call of the Forge God, and picking off kill after kill, getting closer and closer. And I almost hesitate to say this, it almost seems like a Korea-esque style, piggybacking off of Uzi's characteristic aggression. He got massive kills, but they just simply played around this one core chess piece and slowly moved it forward to the enemy king.
Yes, because they didn't want to take any more risks. We already saw what happened in game 1 when you lose your Baron just like that. So China's understanding adaptations are being made here. But take a look at how it all came downhill for Korea. Because Korea got to a point trying to dive bottom lane. Had that dive worked, would have been great. Sure, Uzi had the BF sword, but it wouldn't have mattered had the dive had been a little bit more coordinated. The issue of being so tuned into the play is you're all ready for it. If it doesn't go well, you have to find an exit strategy. They didn't, and all of the members from Team China were able to pick up the kills. Faker lost a lot from that. Cassidy was able to net his first kill off that play. Uzi was safe, and a lot of the kills came through 3 kills, I think, on that play. So that's where it all came downhill, because the competition was fairly easy in Korea's standpoint, where they just had great lanes, and they need to just play it slowly.
And it was such an interesting sacrifice out of MLXG, completely giving up his jungle to focus on that bottom half of the map. Saw that his buffs were getting taken, saw that Letme was being pushed under his top tier 1 turret, but never at all doubting that if I just play to Uzi, if I just play to this bottom lane, I can set him up with the snowball, and then we can just knock the game down out from there. Because again, as you said, Team Korea's composition, if it gets an advantage, becomes so punishing. The Olaf diving, the constant poke and harass from the Zoe, but they never got the advantage.
And they never got it, and honestly, I think that Score was in a good place to be able to carry his team.
Thailand ปูน Thailand ปูน เชียร์ Thailand สู้ๆนะครับสู้เย้ Thailand ไทยเชียร์ไทยพูดพร้อมกันว่าไทยเชียร์ไทยเย้สู้ดิไทยเชียร์ไทยในเอเชียนเกม 2018 ตั้งแต่วันนี้ถึง 2 กันยายน
โค้ชผมชายกลางมาหา
พี่พศตอนนี้เขาไม่เห็นผมเพราะว่าผมอยู่หลังประตู
โค้ชคือใครครับ นี่ผมถามแค่คุณคุยกับใครคุณก็ตบผม คุณก้าวร้าวมากอีพศ
มาหาไปพร้อมกันวันศุกร์4 ทุ่มตรงอย่ามาสายนะจ๊ะ
สเปคผู้หญิงเป็นไงตัวสูงตัวเล็กในนี้ดีกว่าถ้าสมมติให้เลือกคนหนึ่ง
รอดูอาจารย์ไหมฮะ
ให้เทียบเลยแจ๊ดไต้ฝุ่นหอยถ้าสมมติตอบเอาใจใคร
เอาใจเหรอคะเอาใจก็ไต้ฝุ่นค่ะเป็นแขกรับเชิญนะคะอนุญาตเราต้องให้แขกรับเชิญ
เจอกันวันอาทิตย์บ่ายโมงครึ่ง
ไม้ทองคำเด็กสัปดาห์นี้เตรียมหาจนท้องแข็งกับการมาของพวกเขาเหล่านี้
น้องเจลลี่เหรอลูก
ใช่ค่ะ
โอ้ยทำไมน่ารักอย่างเงี้ยสวยๆอย่างนี้มีหนุ่มๆมาจีบหรือเปล่ามีแฟนหรือยังจ๊ะ
มีแล้วค่ะชีตุนกับไอเชนแต่ว่ามีใครมาจีบเยอะเลยค่ะแต่หนูชอบแค่2 คนตุนกับไอเชนเพราะว่าหนูไม่อยากหลายใจค่ะ
น้องนนท์
ครับ
น้องนนท์หิ้วอะไรมาลูก
ขนมเทียนแก้วทำเองครับแม่ทำให้ครับ
เอามาทำอะไรอะลูก
เอาไม่ให้กรรมการน้ำลายไหลเล่นๆครับ
อยากไปประกวดร้องเพลงอยากไปประกวดมากเลยเหรอน้องก็ร้องให้เพราะๆสิลูก
ครับแล้ววันนี้ฝันของเขาพวกเราพร้อมจะเติมเต็มให้เสียงปรบมือต้อนรับน้องเจ้านะ
กับเสียงร้องแสนไพเราะที่ทำเอาผู้ใหญ่อย่างเราต้องทึ่งเสาร์อาทิตย์นี้ 20:05 นาทีอย่าสายนะจ๊ะ
ไม่ได้ลูกกดแค่นี้ไม่ได้จะไม่ได้สักผ่านเลยต้องกด
แม่เอาก็ได้ค่ะคุณป้าสุนารี
อยู่ในศาลเจ้า30 ปีคนเขาบอกว่ามาหากินในศาลเจ้า
มีครับแต่เราก็ทำความดีครับก็ไม่ได้คิดอะไร
ได้ปลามาตัวหนึ่งทำยังไงมันถึงจะกินไม่หมดเอาไปแกงไงตักแบ่งบ้านนู้นบ้านนี้แล้ววันหนึ่งที่เราอดแกงนั้นน่ะมันกลับมาหาเราจริงๆไม่ใช่แค่เขาคนเดียวต้องมีอาชีพคนในกลุ่มของเขาด้วย
ศุกร์นี้ 6 โมงเย็น
การต่อสู้ที่จะมาช่วงชิงความเป็นหนึ่งในสงครามจังเกิลวอร์รอบไฟนอลกับการฟาดฟัน
วันนี้กระต่ายป่ากลับบ้านไงครับปากดี
เชื่อเฉือน
ถ้าร้อนกันมากเรื่องเลี้ยงลูกทีหลังโทรมายืมบูตรงๆก็ได้ไม่ต้องมาแข่งให้เหนื่อยรู้ปะ
ทุ่มสุดตัว
ที่จะ
และแขกรับเชิญสุดพิเศษที่จะมาฟิชเจอริงกับ2 หน้ากาก
ความคิดของฉันเอาไว้อยู่ในเธอ
ผมเพิ่งมาเลยนะผมไม่รู้ว่าเขาคือใครมาก่อนเสียงเขาบังคับได้ตามใจจริงๆนะฮะนี่คือมืออาชีพจริง
ๆและคนที่ได้เป็นแชมป์ของจังเกิลวอร์คือหน้ากาก
ร่วมลุ้นไปพร้อมกันพฤหัสบดีที่30 สิงหาคมนี้ 20:05 นาทีเป็นต้นไป
ไทยแลนด์ปูนไทยแลนด์ปูน
เชียร์
ไทยแลนด์สู้นะครับสู้เย้ไทยแลนด์ไทยเชียร์ไทยพูดพร้อมกันว่าไทยเชียร์ไทยเย้สู้ดิ
ไทยเชียร์ไทยในเอเชียนเกม 2018 ตั้งแต่วันนี้ถึง 2 กันยายน
การต่อสู้ที่จะมาช่วงชิงความเป็นหนึ่งในสงครามจังเกิลวอร์รอบไฟนอลกับการฟาดฟัน
วันนี้กระต่ายป่ากลับบ้านไงครับแหมปากดี
เชื่อเฉือน
ถ้าร้อนกันมากเรื่องเลี้ยงลูกทีหลังโทรมายืมกูตรงๆก็ได้ไม่ต้องมาแข่งให้เหนื่อยรู้ปะ
ทุ่มสุดตัว
ที่จะรัก
และแขกรับเชิญสุดพิเศษที่จะมาฟิชเจอริงกับ2หน้ากาก
ฝากความคิดของฉันเอาไว้อยู่ในเธอผ่านมา
ผมเพิ่งมาเลยนะผมไม่รู้ว่าเขาคือใครมาก่อนเสียงเขาบังคับได้ตามใจจริงๆนะฮะนี่คือมืออาชีพจริง
ๆและคนที่ได้เป็นแชมป์ของจังเกิลวอร์คือหน้ากาก
ร่วมลุ้นไปพร้อมกันพฤหัสบดีที่30สิงหาคมนี้20:05 นาทีเป็นต้นไป
โพสผมชายกลางมหา
พี่พศตอนนี้เขาไม่เห็นผมเพราะว่าผมอยู่หลังประตู
พศคือใครครับ นี่คุณผมถามแค่คุณคุยกับใครคุณก็ตบผมคุณก้าวร้าวมากอีพศ
มาหาไปพร้อมกันวันศุกร์4 ทุ่มตรงอย่ามาสายนะจ๊ะ
สเปคผู้หญิงเป็นไงตัวสูงตัวเล็กในนี้ดีกว่าถ้าสมมติให้เลือกคนหนึ่ง
รอดูอาจารย์ไหมฮะ
ให้เทียบเลยแจ๊ดไต้ฝุ่นหอยถ้าสมมติตอบเอาใจใคร
เอาใจเหรอคะเอาใจก็ไต้ฝุ่นค่ะแขกรับเชิญนะคะญาติเราต้องให้แขกรับเชิญ
เจอกันวันอาทิตย์บ่ายโมงครึ่ง
ไม้ทองคำเด็กสัปดาห์นี้เตรียมหาจนท้องแข็งกับการมาของพวกเขาเหล่านี้
น้องเจลลี่เหรอลูก
ใช่ค่ะ
โอ้ยทำไมน่ารักอย่างเงี้ยสวยๆอย่างนี้มีหนุ่มๆมาจีบหรือเปล่ามีแฟนหรือยังจ๊ะ
Ni pesta olahraga bukannya hura-hura apalagi huru-hara kita harus bertekad dalam satu semangat jadi tuan rumah hebat aku yakin kita mampu membawa nama bangsaku ke tempat yang lebih tinggi dengan berjuta prestasi teruslah bersatu padu menyambut
What are we actually made of? Beneath the colors, beneath our similarities and differences, and our failures and achievements. We are the children of the universe. We exist to push all the boundaries. We are a never-ending flame, uncontainable, just like the sun. Listen to our rhythm.
ไทยแลนด์ปูนไทยแลนด์ปูน
เชียร์
ไทยแลนด์สู้ๆนะครับสู้ไทยแลนด์ไทยเชียร์ไทยพูดพร้อมกันว่าไทยเชียร์
ไทย
เย้สู้ดิ
ไทยเชียร์ไทยในเอเชียนเกม 2018 ตั้งแต่วันนี้ถึง 2 กันยายน
โพสผมชายกลางมหา
พี่พศตอนนี้เขาไม่เห็นผมเพราะว่าผมอยู่หลังประตู
พศคือใครครับ นี่คุณผมถามแค่คุณคุยกับใครคุณก็ตบผมคุณก้าวร้าวมากอีพศ
มาหาไปพร้อมกันวันศุกร์4 ทุ่มตรงอย่ามาสายนะจ๊ะ
สเปค ผู้หญิงเป็นไงตัวสูงตัวเล็ก
ในนี้ดีกว่า ถ้าสมมติ
สมมติให้เลือกคนหนึ่ง
รอดูอาจารย์ไหมฮะ
ให้เทียบเลยแจ๊ดไต้ฝุ่นหอย ถ้าสมมติตอบเอาใจใคร
เอาใจเหรอคะเอาใจก็ไต้ฝุ่นค่ะเป็นแขกรับเชิญนะคะอนุญาตเราต้องให้แขกรับเชิญ
เจอกันวันอาทิตย์บ่ายโมงครึ่ง
ไม้ทองคำเด็กสัปดาห์นี้เตรียมหาจนท้องแข็งกับการมาของพวกเขาเหล่านี้
น้องเจลลี่เหรอลูก
ใช่ค่ะ
โอ้ยทำไมน่ารักอย่างเงี้ยสวยๆอย่างนี้มีหนุ่มๆมาจีบหรือเปล่ามีแฟนหรือยังจ๊ะ
มีแล้วค่ะชีตุนกับไอเชนแต่ว่ามีใครมาจีบเยอะเลยค่ะแต่หนูชอบแค่2 คนตุนกับไอเชนเพราะว่าหนูไม่อยากหลายใจค่ะ
น้องนนท์
ครับ
น้องนนท์หิ้วอะไรมาลูก
ขนมเทียนแก้วทำเองครับแม่ทำให้ครับ
เอามาทำอะไรอะลูก
เอาไม่ให้กรรมการน้ำลายไหลเล่นๆครับ
อยากไปประกวดร้องเพลงอยากไปประกวดมากเลยเหรอน้องก็ร้องให้เพราะๆสิลูก
ครับแล้ววันนี้
The most dominant jungler of the entire tournament, and Peanut stepping in, someone who's played a bit more loose, a little bit more reckless with the roster. He almost seems to run counter to the style that Team Korea likes to, that control, that patience, but Peanut could be exactly what they need to match MLXG and actually bring the game back to China.
Funny enough, last game when I saw Score pick up the Olaf, he was getting the lead and the team was playing around him. I thought, what would happen if you put Peanut in the same situation? Someone who wants to get that lead and then barrel it on forward. That answers it. They want Peanut to come in and now try and clash heads with Team China in these team fights.
That mid-jungle is something we've been talking about for the entire series, but in Game 3, it's by completely abandoning the mid lane and leaving Xie on that Kassadin that China are able to take an advantage and instead focusing on that bottom lane. But if they try to make that investment once again against a player like Peanut, then that could be a much riskier gambit because Peanut will not hesitate to dive, but we've gotten into picks and bans. It's match point between Team China and Team Korea.
I want to see what we do with Peanut here. Leave the Olaf open, get himself the pick. They are on the red side this time round. First time we get to see Korea now go for this flexing pick. So we get to see Peanut get his priority matchup.
And from the blue side, Team China, again, with the double Aatrox Akali ban. They did the same thing with the blue side Aatrox previously, but again, the Camille taken away from MLXG. It's such a strong enabler. Now, last time, it was the Rise ban and a Varus in the match before that. What do Team China try to take away here?
Usually, this just points out what they're trying to prioritize. It's going to be the mid lane. It's not going to be the top lane. They could go Rise for the mid lane, but I think the Varus is something now Korea has to ban out. Varus is going to be the go-to that Uzi picks himself up.
And there's that Vel'Koz ban as the youngest esports fan ever in the arena. Surely cheering on their home region, but this is leaving up the Alistar. This is leaving up the Galio. This is leaving up the Varus. There are so many strong picks, and China can only take one here. Even the Rise is still open. And the Galio first pick blue side from Team China.
We've been seeing it get banned out throughout the series, and it's going to be China. Xie now on the pick. It's going to be fun to see what he can do with it. But now begs the question. You were talking about Alistar. I don't think it comes back into this. They wanted to see the specific matchup between Ali and the Rakan. Now that's gone. Varus now picked up by Korea. I want to see if China now goes towards lower range AD carries. The Kaisa comes to mind and try to just dive into the back line and just enable the matchup bot lane.
And now we've got the Varus first pick for Ruler once again with 10 seconds on the clock. They might try to prioritize that bottom lane with that support, the Olaf that you mentioned. But it's a Tahm Kench. It's a safe and defensive bottom lane. And it seems like we've had a complete reversal throughout this draft phase. Team Korea prioritizing their bottom lane, Team China prioritizing their mid lane.
Just wants the safety. Ordinarily, you'd get the AD carry, but wouldn't go for the support because you can go either towards the Braum or the Tahm Kench. But you can see the mentality of Ruler and Core JJ consistently getting dived bot lane. They don't want that to happen any longer, and Tahm Kench would make it a little bit easier for them.
So we see the Xayah picked up by Uzi, getting MVP in that Game 3 victory for Team China. Will he have a similar performance going into this Game 4, into this match point? As Gragas is now the pickup once again for MLXG. They're showing a similar strategy, but this time it's without the scaling assurance of a Kassadin in the mid lane. It's with the support of Xie, so they might even be doubling down on it.
Yeah, I think the Olaf just comes out right now. You're getting to a point, oh, doesn't? I think you should ban it now. One of the greatest strengths of Olaf against this composition is, you know, the Xayah has the CC that she can constantly throw out with her feathers. Gragas herself as well. The taunt from Galio, all ignored based off the ulti that the jungle pick would have for Peanut.
Now we have another Ornn ban away from Team China. That has been a huge enabler in these fights, setting up with the long-range call of the Forge God for Team China. Taking that away is a huge step forward for Team Korea. Now we've got to look to see if that Alistar goes through. There's the Trundle that you just mentioned, but Olaf is still an option for Peanut if he wants to try to go aggressive against MLXG. But let's see what Korea try to ban away. They know what their mid lane matchup is going to be, that Orianna versus Galio. And there's the Alistar.
There we go. I mean, they just don't want to see that extra layer of engage there. But now the real question for China is, do they ban the Kindred or do they ban the Olaf? Two reasonable picks here. Kindred. Okay.
The Kindred, yeah. Banned away now from Team Korea. So let's see if we get that Olaf right here. Saving that counter pick for Keen in the top lane once again. As the Gangplank is still open, though, we might have a chance to see China let me take it himself.
Just know that the jungle matchup is already known. Peanut knows he's going up against the Gragas. It's a possibility that Let Me picks it up himself, just throwing it out there. But regardless of that, Olaf comes in through. Peanut is confident with this one.
As you said, how different would the game be if you were willing to dive with that Olaf instead of just pressure the lanes themselves? But even that dive is going to be risky against a Xayah, against a Galio, and now Let Me gets the chance to pick himself something safe up top if he wants to try to match this. Is he going to look for more engage for Team China? Oh. As MLXG, it's actually going to be Gragas to Ming in the bottom lane, and MLXG going mano a mano versus Peanut.
We'll have to see where the Gragas goes, but the Lee Sin is monumental that MLXG just goes back onto the pick. That's really what he's made his name off domestically. So he knows that he has the backing of the Galio pick. Gnar is the go-to. I know that when Let Me is pushed, shoved into a corner, he goes towards something a little bit more facilitating. Technically, Gnar can do both, team fight and split push, but it's a blind pick Gnar. So you know that Keen put in this situation to try and match it. Here we go.
And with that final Gangplank lock-in, we have what could be our final team comps for the 2018 Asian Games Esports Demonstration event. It is match point, and China are in the lead. And with MLXG taking the confidence pick in Lee Sin, a surprise flex sending Gragas down bottom. Peanut stepping up to try and match that aggression, but suddenly finds himself in what could be a difficult matchup. Team Korea backs against the wall. Can they fight their way out of this one? They were undefeated in group stage, and now they found their first 2 losses to Team China.
This is insane. Usually when you're put into a corner like this, mentality is key, and keeping score on the lineup would be the go-to. But Peanut, fresh mind, hasn't played throughout the series. Maybe he has something in mind, as the coaches will shake hands.
This could be the last time of the entire series as they make their way backstage, and we prepare to load onto the Rift. The People's Republic of China taking some unexpected victories over Team Korea. They just need one more to close out the series, whereas the Team Korea fans, the Republic of Korea, sending the best of the best to the stage and finding themselves worthy opponents in Team China. But with all of that out of the way, all of the preamble gone, it's time to get into this. 10 players will load onto the Rift and only 5 will leave, as it's Team China taking on Team Korea.
All right, the fans have gone through it. I just want to see the Lee Sin pick fly. Come on, MLXG, show me what you've got.
What's it going to be, that carry MLXG performance? Or are we going to see something else as we load onto the Rift for the deciding match of this best of 5?
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
And you can hear the fans already chanting on for their teams. Team China versus Team Korea.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Faker forced to step back to Flash, and already a Flash cleanse.
2 games in a row, Ming makes the play happen, gets the Flash onto Ruler last one. This time gets both summoners on Faker, not how you want to start game 3. 4. Close enough.
Yes. Match point. What could be the 3rd victory for Team China, but they're already looking to control that mid lane. MLXG taking Lee Sin into the jungle. Peanut taking that Olaf to try and match it. He gets a leashless start and turns towards red.
Here's what's key about this jungle matchup. The reason why we don't get to see a lot of Lee Sins out there is because the matchups are just bad. You're an electrocute jungler going up against what seems like an Olaf. I mean, he's going to be chucking axes. It's actually really bad for you that you just get outright damaged. It's one of the oldest counter picks in the book. But you still pick the Lee Sin for the setup. If you're confident enough for the ganks, super impact in the lane. And then, of course, once you ping 6, Lee Sin kicks is what we're looking for.
Those Dragon Rages to set up for the carries and find the kills. Now Faker, this wave pushed in. He's catching all the CS that's flooding in towards him, but already we see very early river control out of Team China. They've got a defensive ward in Pixel Bush and taken the top Scuttle Crab as MLXG is going from buff to buff, and Peanut is forced to go for a very close to full clear as he finds himself with double buff.
Yeah, and speaking of forced, Faker is forced to play under his tower. He knows that going up against the Lee Sin, one thing Lee Sin has in mind is to make the ganks happen, and the taunt that is available for CA makes it all the easier to go up against a flashless, cleanseless Orianna.
A very scary matchup, but the cleanse is already half duration to coming back, so not quite as much threat for Faker. If he can only hold out for just a few more waves, he should be fine. But Let Me finally has himself a favorable matchup in the top lane against Keen's Gangplank. You can see Keen is setting up to keep himself safe from any dive, places a ward on the Krug camp to make sure that there's no chance MLXG appears, and still the information game bounces between the two teams.
Yeah, and those wards are really crucial. Know that Gnar has a lot of masteries he can go towards. Going towards Airy just means that I want trades. The trades that he gets, long range, throwing out the boomerang, really converts into a dive. And so MLXG, if he gets it, it's available for him, he will look for it. So if not to get the kill, to force GP from taking the massive wave, at least he gets this one. But you always have to keep in mind on how this matchup goes for Keen.
He has brought Peanut back towards that top side of the map. His first recall is completed. Peanut's got himself the boots to synergize with that Predator and a Ruby Crystal for some more sustain as Xie teleports back into the mid lane and the waves bounce out. Finally, Ruler gets himself a safe lane down in this bottom half of the map as even MLXG is sitting in Tribush just to pull the attention. And he will be spotted out by a ward though.
When you're going up against Suzy and Ming, I don't know if you ever get yourself a safe lane. Sure, you have the Tom Kench, so that's what makes sense for it to happen. The exhaust to follow too. Remember, that's exhaust versus ignite from both supports. So you can already tell the mentality behind both these matchups. But Core JJ and Ruler still have to be aware, get the wards down so MLXG cannot impact it.
Now Ming steps up to look for vision onto Peanut. They want to know where that Olaf is going. He's trying to dodge the vision that was placed on Gromp. I don't think the Scryer's Bloom spotted him, as there were no pings onto him, and he's heading down for a lane gank towards the bottom lane. That's the slow onto Ming. Flash. Ming trying to set up for some more damage, but the Predator. Peanut's racing up. Devour is ready. Ming is the target, and he goes down. First blood, Team Korea.
Flash to get the slow across. Core JJ sets up the gank for Peanut. Well done. Kill's gone across now.
LXG now setting up for a gank top. Uses the ward hop to close the gap. Sonic Wave is ready. He tries to bait out the flash, but it's held onto. Keen does not flinch. He holds his ground and escapes with his life.
Incredibly well focused from Keen. Keen just recognized he needed to wait for the reaction on Q. So this is where it all started. Flashes over the minion wave so he can actually get the Q across. And so Ming, waiting on his cooldown so he can body slam out, just wasn't going to be given to him.
Ends up giving that first blood over to Ruler. The bottom lane might finally get a chance to go into his favor in this game, as even Infernal Dragon is picked up by Team Korea on a very scary composition. 4 huge damage members as the game goes on, so massive investment for them.
This is pretty good for China before that point after. Remember, the mid lane matchup was supposed to go in favor of Faker. But since losing both of his summoners, And on top of that, Xie getting minion dematerializer was just making it so hard for Faker to deal with cannon waves that would come through. So it was looking good initially. Mid lane and bottom lane were pushing, but now Korea found themselves a foothold in the bottom lane.
It's opening up to a 600 gold advantage, and we'll keep an eye on how that bottom lane goes, as it's a BF sword start from Uzi against the Bilgewater Cutlass for Ruler. And he just needs a little bit more gold, as that's the body slam. CoreJJ not back out of lane in time, and Ruler will take some damage, but again, he's got that Cutlass, so we'll get some lifesteal to heal himself back up. This wave is pushing in, and MLXG is on the bottom half of the map. Plus, Xie's picked up level 6, so we could see a potential dive if Team China were thinking about it, or they might just try to reset the wave and gain control over the bottom half of the map.
It's a good way for Ming to play out the laning phase. Getting the chunk down means that you're right, you have Bilgewater Cutlass, you can play to just sustain, but you were already in an aggressive standpoint. Now you're looking to play at a range so you can heal up and throw your Qs so you can get the minions across, rather than trying to get the trade on towards Uzi.
Now we do see Uzi still pushing this wave up, using those feathers to try and clear out that minion wave as quick as he can, and still just patrolling back and forth. He's actually brought MLXG out of the jungle. There is a Scuttle Crab just expiring and a Control Ward, but another in the Pixel Brush. Ming now looks like he's about to be spotted by that Control Ward, and they're just going for a blue steal as Faker is caught recalling. It's a small jab from Team China, but it does deny that wave clear to Faker in the mid lane, which could open up Xie to move around in just a few minutes.
You would expect Korea to know this is happening now that they brought their bottom lane for the play. You can see that MLXG would likely go to secure the blue buff of his own in the opposite end. We're seeing if that's the case because, yeah, actually, Xie putting down a ward to defend it. So that would look to be a triple buff.
Yeah, Peanuts actually completed his recall. He did not go for that blue buff despite the attempted recall. As MLXG lands the Sonic Wave. The kick sends him back. CoreJJ gets pulled and snared. That's the Cannon Barrage. Ruler's out the front, and Ming eats some damage, tries to soak it up. Another Sonic Wave, but the Chains of Corruption does so much, and MLXG decides not to follow. Uzi chases it down, nearly has the damage, and finds the kill under the turret. But here comes Peanut. Teleport coming in as it's an all-out brawl. Level up from Ming. He finds the cast. CoreJJ goes low. Uzi finds himself the double, but dies. Gifts over the kill to Peanut, and it is 3-2 in favor of Team Korea.
But he risked it all to get that double kill, and this is a massive wave now being denied against the Varus. So mission complete for Team China. Get the advantage on towards Uzi, and he netted it for himself.
With everything on the line, match point, and one game still to lose, he decides to flash under the turret. Comes up with the double kill, but ends up giving another 2 over. 1 to Peanut, and I believe that's actually 2 now to Peanut. And MLXG, he's not done yet.
Fancy feet Faker. You don't need sums, you don't need to blow him at all. As long as you got the movement speed there, uses his command distance as a W to be able to just give him the extra movement speed to duck out of there, duck out of cover. Now he's moving along here.
Yeah, they're going to claim control over this bottom half of the jungle from Team China as blue buff is passed over to Xie. Oh, yeah, Ming does not, or sorry, MLXG does not take it. And sending Xie back towards this mid lane. But now as we get towards this 10-minute mark, we're seeing Peanut start to step up. And you said 2 kills on score versus 2 kills on Peanut. What would you rather see as we get to see this play again?
There we have it. 2-for-1 special, kicks him into the back line. But this is the value you have that at Tom Kench. You try and focus him down. Not only did he get the shield here, but it actually came back off cooldown to try to get him again. But you're right, 2-for-1 special. They just go for the kill. So Uzi commits, has the tower aggro, tries to go for the Tom Kench as well. So there we have it. We didn't get to see the full play because it was a very long one.
It was.
But Peanut has 2 kills now, and that's the primary strength Korea now has.
And we see a Rift Herald attempting to be taken by MLXG as she follows him deep into the jungle.
You ain't going nowhere.
Gives him a pat on the back as he makes his way out. But Peanut, like we said, this is the difference between the two. It was 2 kills on score in Game 3, and he wasn't able to affect his lanes. Now, Peanut has the 2 kills on the same champion. Can he do what Score could not?
Well, first time around, you actually saw the answer to that, which was when he just had a lane dive directly towards Ming. Now he's going to do it again. I mean, the pressure's already there. Why not have a second shot at it?
They've already set up the control ward, though there is a defensive ward on Tribush that might spot Peanut if he steps too close to the lane. He's looking for mid, but Xie is playing so close. Good shockwave. Catches him in midair. That's the Ragnarok. Xie goes low. Peanut decides not to go under the turret as MLXG follows it up. The chilling smite, but that's Cannon Barrage. Abyssal Voyage gets Core JJ back in.
He was threatening for the ward hop kick, so you had to flash off if you're Faker. You can see it in his eyes. Didn't happen. But you can see it. That's the difference between Score and Peanut. He was looking for these plays, and he's relentless. Get away from that wave, buddy.
Xie still flirting with danger. That Sonic Wave misses. Peanut's not very tanky, but they're trying to deny Faker these minions while Peanut is trying to hold them. The wave pushes back in, and Peanut does pull it to the side to buy a little bit of time, so Faker won't miss too much, but this is a recall opportunity for Xie, and still, we're seeing a CS advantage for Let Me up top as he's pushing constantly into Keen. This should equalize with this wave, and bottom lane is still in favor of Uzi with that kill advantage.
There we have it. Now Peanut, of course, the base coming down. He's going to be looking to try and defend this Infernal Dragon being taken.
Flash Smite is ready for Peanut. He's got no Ragnarok. Core JJ sees this. Smite secure. Team China are forced to back out. Ming's over the wall. Ward Hop gets him to safety. Peanut decides not to follow up. With Korea pressing forward, they're pressing forward in multiple directions. Xie has found Faker once again under the turret. They're fighting over the Raptor camp now. Uzi trying to clear it out, but Peanut will get the secure with a Smite and that Ragnarok.
I think the benefit of that is that they denied Korea from having double Infernal. But look at the situation they're currently in. Galio probably needs a base for himself, but he's getting constantly pressured under tower. This is the Faker special. Push him in and let it rip on the tower. Tower's getting chipped down a little bit constantly just based off the matchup alone. You can't keep Faker here unscathed. You have to do something.
If he's allowed to keep pressing, eventually that turret will fall, and we know what this Orianna can do. He's being passed over this blue buff now as it respawns, finally able to get the buff for himself. As Xie heads back into the mid lane, MLXG is on the prowl. He steps up the shockwave, pulls it in! That's a bait, but there goes Xie. He's forced to back out of this. The Predator, the slow, but Ragnarok means Peanut's able to soak some of this. It falls off just in time for Ming's cast as Xie heads back to his turret.
Layered on top of Orianna's damage, Peanut just destroys him. That was such a good follow-up. I mean, there was no way for him to respond. No flash, no reaction, hop, nothing you can do in that situation. He was gone.
And again, we see the trade-off. Winds of War trying to clear out the minion wave, but Team Korea are pushing off the back of Faker's pressure. They're getting more and more damage onto this turret. Luckily, Ming completes the rotation from bottom to defend it. It is still standing for Team China, but here we get to see it again through the control ward.
So you see him coming through the control ward, as you mentioned. He peeks his head out there, walks up. Look at that. That's just true. I mean, true lockdown CC, nothing he could do after that. He was already dead by the time the CC from the Orianna ulti actually came in.
Yeah, no hesitation from Faker. He sees his opportunity and he takes it. That's what makes him such a good player, because he is so decisive. Now Rift Herald being started off by MLXG. Peanut once again spots this out. As he's looking to collapse around from the side, Xie looks to zone him. There is no Ragnarok from Peanut, but he's nearly got his smite back up.
Doesn't have much mana to him, so I wouldn't really look for a longer engage from Peanut.
Team Korea actually collapse on the pit. They bring Core JJ and Ruler, even getting a teleport out from Keen. As Let Me close to Mega. Not sure if he wants this fight. Keen completes it. Shockwave pulls MLXG in. He's dead again to Faker. 5 and 2 for Team Korea, and they take the Rift Herald.
Ming and Uzi were stuck at base. They were coming. They were going to be there in about 30 seconds, but they didn't have 30 seconds. The play happens. MLXG tries to go for a steal, but of course he's going to get picked out by the shockwave.
And no hesitation from Korea. They drop Rift Herald in the mid lane. This charge should be enough to break it down. Mid-tier 1 falls.
A lot more fiery out of the Korean roster now that the Peanut's in here. You give him 2 kills, and he just keeps going. I love the fact that we're seeing a completely different game now that they brought in Peanut.
Much more aggressive play is opening up the map. Now Faker is unlocked on this Orianna and free to maneuver around. Peanut synergizing in an unexpected way by collapsing on MLXG's mistakes and forcing him into a bad position, not once but twice in a row.
Hey, this was the old SKT duo. Peanut, once upon a time, was across sides from Faker. They get to play once again with each other, and you know what? Unexpectedly, the synergy is back on track. 4 kills from just 2 of them. just combined. The pressure is there. And they're doing really well to just completely nullify MLXG, and in this case, Xie.
And non-stop push out of Faker, using the Shockwave again to keep Xie busy. Uzi, meanwhile, he's finished off his Stormrazor, but he's a far cry away from the kills that he had in Game 3. Same champion, but completely different tale at 2-1-0, as Ruler is actually 22 CS ahead. Despite being down in a kill, he's finished off Blade of the Ruined King, and he's got push pressure onto the bottom tier 1 with Peanut on this half of the map. So it's in fact Peanut's aggression that's starting to open things up for Team Korea. This turret will be held though. Luckily that Xayah has got plenty of wave clear, but Triforce finished off for Keen, Luden's Echo finished off for Faker, Blade of the Ruined King for Ruler, and Peanut's picking up his own tank items. Things are looking pretty good for Team Korea.
Yeah, and they were setting for themselves up a pretty reasonable dive down bot lane. Knowing that Lee Sin was topside too, Uzi and Ming just kind of respected the pressure and took Krugs. As you can see, nothing there. Nothing here you can see with your axe toss.
The undertow. Peanut still feigning a dive. Faker's roaming away from the mid lane. Ruler steps up, but Ming doesn't take the bait. Uzi does, though. That's the cask again. Pulling Core JJ to the side. A flash gets Ruler out of there. The target's Core JJ. Chains of Corruption has found Ming. He's slowed. That's the hero's entrance, but he's already dead. Ragnarok gets Xie into the fight, but already his support is out. It's a kill advantage for Korea, and Team China are forced to pull back.
Galio was in position for some time, but didn't know how to really start off the fight. And by the time he got in there, Ming was already dead, so nothing you can do here if you're Team China. Just have to really wait and see what Korea now does with their time.
And that was Team China trying to make the best of a bad situation. They knew that Peanut was nearby, and they tried to find a kill before he could get in, but unfortunately Ming, not quite tanky enough, ends up going down for the third death of his team. And 18 minutes into the game, Team Korea still looking for these opportunities, starting to dictate the control of this game. Keen, despite being down in CS, is almost certainly up in gold by the nature of that gangplank. Already finishing off that Triforce, as we said, going to become a threat later on, but now the Infernal Dragon is up. Team China are losing control of the river.
3 Infernal Dragons in a row. It was really special that China was able to get the second one, but they cannot stop the third one. They have to see a miracle run. Maybe Let Me joins in the next fight. Doesn't have teleports, so we'd have to make the travel, but here we go. They're actually committing to this.
Stepping up, attacks the turret. MLXG follows through. They managed to get the snare. Let Me happy to tank these hits. Keen soaking the damage as Xie joins the fight and finishes it off. Finally, the Sonic Wave for MLXG will take the kill, putting Team China a little bit closer on the board, but Dragon was finished off by Peanut.
That's a big trade, giving away the second Infernal Dragon for what's a top lane dive and the tower kill. But remember, Korea's actually have a lot of members in the bottom side of the map, so you're giving away the bottom lane tower as well. Here we go.
Peanut, he might not just be looking for the turret, he might be looking for a kill. The Abyssal Voyage gets Core JJ in there, but Ming with a disengaged cask knocks them away. But as you said, minions looking for that bottom tier 1.
And so at this point, you make the trade happen. That's a bottom lane tower and an Infernal Dragon. What's the top lane tower and a kill on towards the GP. GP is not going to be too perturbed by that. He's okay with that. So this is just a good trade from Korea as a whole.
And that's unlocking, though they are looking to take the top tier 2. Keen is back up. He's got no cannon barrage. But MLXG sets to finish it off. 2 turrets for 2, and Team China are keeping pace.
You can be creative with that now, looking for the next dragon. Baron is up in about 2 seconds, but we're seeing a collapse.
Yeah, Faker with blue buff uses the Dissonance Shockwave again onto MLXG. He's been caught by that spell so many times. Despite the flash, Faker gets the kill. And Peanut will force Let Me to flash away from the undertow.
Jungler is down now. Baron just came back up. Korea's in the area. Why not just start it? I know the base is being channeled, but it would make a lot of sense for them to try and bait it with the now death animation here from Lee Sin.
And 3 kills on Faker, 2-0 and 3 on Peanut. MLXG 1-3 and 2. He takes the Confidence Champion on the Lee Sin, but every single time his opponent hasn't been Peanut. It's largely been Faker in the mid lane, who is tracking his movements all across that mid lane, all across the jungle and the river. And keeping that Lee Sin locked down is preventing Team China from snowballing any of their lanes and setting themselves up. Now Team Korea, as you said, maneuvering around the Baron. They didn't take it after MLXG died, but they are setting up a bait around the pit.
And they have quite a few... Oh, wait a minute, I think he got it.
Oh, that time he gets away. But he does get the blue buff.
There we go. And now, of course, they can just actually turn their attention towards the top lane as Gnar is just alone.
He's got no flash. Abyssal Voyage is ready. He's trying to build up rage as quick as he can.
Run.
Chains of Corruption misses, but the flash, he gets caught by the undertow. Lemmy's getting close to Mega. He's got the slam, but dies before he can transform and will die. Now Xie pushing bottom, takes down the tier 1. Keen has got Cannon Barrage and the teleport, but it's 5 versus 4.
No teleport on the Galio, and also on top of that, Lemmy with a pretty long death timer. Could have just gone towards the Baron, but they're not willing to do it. In fact, lose the mid lane turret as a result.
Uzi's still stepping up and finishes it off. Still, it's 4 turrets to 2. Team China are taking these reckless trades to get gold back onto the map, but Faker finishes it off. That was flash away from Keen, as you said. MLXG lands himself the Sonic Wave, and Dragon's Rage only sends Keen back towards his tier 2.
A lot of plays to make Keen feel uncomfortable, but the team as a whole.
Flash body slam the cask. He's looking for Ruler, pinned against the wall, takes to the skies, but Core JJ sets it up. He's going the wrong direction, rooted in place, and Ruler goes down. Uzi and Ming find the opening, and they collapse on it. A double kill to Uzi.
Disconnected from their team, but now they can just chase them down. Peanuts alone.
This is very risky. Peanuts forced to turn and run. He used his flash earlier, and Lemmy's able to get revenge, sidestepping around the vision. Megadar against the wall, shut down on Peanut.
Right next to the Baron buff too. They've already started it.
Keen is teleporting in. Faker is behind them. Team China are in the pit, as you said, burning through its health. But Faker's ready with the shockwave. He's found MLXG. He goes low, but that's the hero's entrance. MLXG flashes away. No one's defending Uzi. Keen is walking it up, but MLXG gets the kill. Faker, 1 versus 5, trying to hold his ground. He's got no mana. He's slowed, looking for another, but he finds a kill. Finally will die to Uzi as he finishes it off, and Team China turn to the Baron.
They have everybody they need. They don't have Let Me, but he's did his job here. Baron buff for China.
23 minutes into the game, throughout this laning phase, Faker has been putting out a monstrous performance, but collecting themselves as a group, they're able to collapse and find Team Korea. Split up, they find the kills, and now they find control of the game.
I just don't know what Korea was doing on the top side. Keen is doing his job. He's getting just blitzed by everybody. Teleport was gone too, so it was just so much confidence from China's side that they can expect so many members and resources towards the bottom lane, and nothing was going to be happening towards the Baron. So ultimately, all China's on towards Baron. You can see what ends up happening here. Faker does a great job being able to nail down MLXG, but take a look at this. MLXG walks back up. The confidence to nail the kill when he doesn't have HP.
So very close. Faker finally gets the kill onto Let Me in the end, but Uzi with the flash auto from Stormrazers locks it down. Now Baron for Team China. All of those turrets that they've been trading earlier are about to pay off as they're pushing up to the tier 2. Peanut low. He's rooted the Ragnarok, and he walks away with his life. But that's a primary initiator. That Olaf gone. The wave clear is non-stop. Faker's trying to push it out, but he already used his shockwave. It's still on cooldown, and Let Me is prepping a wave bottom.
The Baron buff cannon minion too. Ragnarok used by Olaf. Even if he joins up, won't have the ability to just get in there.
Faker's trying to hold aggro. He's got flash, but pinned against the wall. Xie finds no opportunity. Forced to use the stopwatch and stall this fight out. Uzi tries to keep him standing, but Xie with a late flash. He escapes, but dies at the last second. Faker lands the auto attack onto Uzi, chases it down, looking for another. He knows there's no flash. He lands the damage, trades the kill 1 for 1. That's a big damage source for another, but that's Baron now missing. Peanut gets back in as MLXG goes down. China overextend, and Faker makes them pay.
Uzi does his best to get Faker off of him, but Faker does his job. 4 members down. Here we go now. Gonna get more than this.
Ming drops the barrel roll to try and clear out the minions, but what was an advantage for Team China swings back to Team Korea. They break down the mid-tier 2, bringing it to 5 turrets to 4. And the Abyssal Voyage towards this 3rd dragon, this last elemental drake, sorry, 2nd to last elemental drake for Team Korea, as they get themselves an ocean. 25.5 minutes in, this game is back and forth and dead even.
At the very least, Let Me still has his Baron buff, and he's been the one split pushing. Later the Rune King right on him. You can hear the audience cheering it because this is a very close game.
Non-stop cheering for this gold medal match. Game point for Team China if they close it out here. And everyone is on the edge of their seat as to how this is going to shake out. Blue buff Now being taken by Xie as once again, Team China playing around the map, trying to deny the vision that Peanut needs to use if he wants to look for a flank to chase someone down.
And that's the case here. Even though the fight went in towards Korea's favor, Baron buff is still there from the Gnar. He's already hiding and now going back towards the bottom lane. Pressure is still there because Ming is holding the mid lane with Baron too, so it's not completely gone. It was a great defensive measure from Korea, but you have to try a second time.
They need to be able to break the inhibitor line of Team China to really lock down map control. As you said, you can see that 1-3-1 control from the Galio and Gnar, splitting open the map. Uzi at 6-2-1. He's at 3 items with a Vamp Scepter. Doesn't have his QSS yet, so there still is some opportunity for Ruler to lock him down. But he's been playing so well this entire series, and constantly controlling these waves, constantly keeping Team Korea on the defensive has been the recipe for success for Team China in this best of 5.
And much like how that last fight ended, it really does feel like it's Uzi versus Faker. Faker's last couple team fights have just been insane. And even though the last Baron fight still ended with China taking the Baron, Faker still got a kill off of it. So he's 6-2-2 at this point. 3 items and a half if you just point out the fact that he has the boots and the stop
Oh,
line.
they find the cast. Ruler forced to flash away, and Core JJ with the save. Faker's over the wall, but the tier 2 falls, lands the dissonance, but Xie continues to zone him off. Team China, they push the wave all the way up to the inhibitor turret, finding an opening without the Baron buff.
There's too much range here with the Orianna. Good idea to lean towards the right, knowing that Orianna was onto your left, so making a good case for that one. But so good from Core JJ to keep Ruler alive. Vulnerable throughout the series countless times, but the Tahm Kench has been netting so much for the team of Korea.
Huge value in keeping that Varus standing in these fights, knowing that if you do see the Faker versus Uzi trade, as you said, this matchup seems to be largely Faker versus Uzi based, but then you get to those secondary carries. You start to compare Xie versus Ruler, MLXG versus Peanut, Let Me versus Keen. And it is so volatile in these fights, but we're still looking towards Uzi and Faker as the primary playmakers in this game. This match point. Now, Baron's up in 90 seconds. Xie is prepping a wave up top, and we just saw a completed recall from Team China. They could look to start setting up vision and reclaiming control of the map.
And this is the second GP game we've seen so far, but it's also just a completely different build. The last one was, you know, the Youmu's, a little bit more defensive because he got a Hex Drinker for his. This one is just full offensive. We've got the GA and the Storm Razors. So the next barrel he throws out, it's just going to crit baby. So we're at a point right now where the GP can end the fight based off the setup they have around Baron.
And this time, amazingly, it's Let Me who wants to keep Keen split pushing, as he's got Blade of the Ruined King, Frozen Mallet, and Black Cleaver. Yeah. Now that's the hero's entrance. We've got a fight breaking out. Let Me chases. He's close to Mega, looking for Keen, but he steps back through the wall. Inside of it, Xie has found Core JJ. He's forcing Ruler back, and that's the Guardian Angel popped. As Uzi joins the fight, Keen is left all alone. He gets some good damage, but snared and stunned. He dies to Uzi.
Gets a little bit of HP back through Triumph, but Core JJ's on the run.
He's split on the far side. Meanwhile, MLXG is doing everything he can to keep Peanut split from the map while Ming prepares a wave in the mid lane. A taunt, and Core JJ will fall. Xie finds the kill. 11 kills to 12. But now that top lane matchup is reset. Waves are prepped both mid and bottom, and Baron is just now spawning.
The base coming through from China and the mid lane getting pushed does make a point that it's going to be about the Baron buff.
Teleport completed as Let Me's back out of the base. Uzi with double buff back at full health. You know, with the Predator, but Faker gets himself stunned and sidesteps the cast. But look at that, MLXG! He finds the kick and he finds Faker. With Faker gone, it's all up to Peanut to prevent this Baron, but Team China are racing towards the pit.
You can only sidestep so much, Faker. It's a point and click that gets you. Now they're on Baron, and there's nothing here to stop Team China.
Team Korea back up to their base. 12 kills to 12. 31 minutes in, match point. And Team China have the Baron.
Kills are even, but the situation is completely tilted towards China. And they have great split push with the Gnar too, so he's gonna say Jayo. He's gonna move towards the bottom side of the map.
Oh yeah. And listen to the energy in this arena. It is electric as Team China are looking to close this game out. Dragons up in 30 seconds. You can see they're making their way over to the pit to deny Team Korea from getting that 4th elemental dragon, or perhaps even just setting up their side waves to try and look for a 1-3-1, because now Team Korea are forced to be defensive. Now they're the team that are forced to sit on the high ground and absorb Team China's pressure.
And this is when you start taking stock of timers. Guardian Angel down from GP is something you should look towards, because it was easier diving him last time. It's going to be so much easier now if you just group on towards this massive wave piling in towards the bottom lane.
Uzi brings the wave forward. MLXG zoning off, trying to keep this ward vision denied. Abyssal Voyage as Faker is forced to back away. Xie and Let Me pushing this wave in with everything they've got, but that leaves bottom undefended.
Yeah, 3 members top lane, and Galio can easily help out there. Here we go, that's an inhibitor down for free.
And they're still continuing to push. MLXG clears out a wave alongside Let Me to prep it forward. Ming is defending Uzi as he brings him towards the middle inhibitor turret, but Team Korea, they're trying to set up top. Ming steps up, still holding on to the cask.
This is where they have to draw the line. The Baron up, bottom lane. Massive minions are actually moving towards the bottom lane, so it's all gonna happen mid.
Peanuts acting as a human wall to soak this damage onto the turret, but Uzi avoids it completely, walks under turret to push in. The Vamp Scepter more than happy to pay off in that sustain, but now they still need to defend.
This is big. The bottom lane wave is actually fairly slow. It's slow pushing now, so they can actually time it well with this mid lane push. Someone's gonna have to deal with the bottom lane minion creeps, but if they do, that inhibitor mid lane's going down.
MLXG preps the wave. Xie takes a hit as Uzi brings the wave forward. Caught by the Chains of Corruption, but a cleanse gets him out. That's a big ultimate now gone. Uzi still looking for some hits, but no chase from Team Korea. Uzi, he has no flash, he has no heal. That's the Predator. They're racing towards the top lane as Let Me is running for his life, but instead Peanut just walks up to clear the wave. That's 2 big cooldowns now missing.
Korea so far is doing a good enough job holding the game firm, but it's always just that one play that you have to watch out for.
Slowly but surely, the mid-tier 1 is falling. Xie preps the wave. He gets good damage onto Faker, but with Baron buff on the super minions, MLXG bringing wave after wave. They're able to chunk it down, hit after hit. Uzi's at very low health right now, needs to heal up off of this wave if they want to continue to siege, because the Baron buff is going to fade off within the next 30 seconds.
Yeah, he has the lifesteal, he should be fine. My worry is towards Peanut that actually had to go back to base. He found a good window now, but he's back on the map. Next wave's about to pile in. This could be
Uzi kills Faker in the mid lane. They dive, and Team China are trying to end the series right here. That's a massive damage source missing. The inhibitor goes down. Baron is about to wear off, but they've still got super minions. 5 versus 4. Can Korea hold their ground?
This ain't gonna cut it. That was a massive pick-off towards Faker. This game's gonna end here.
Uzi still stepping up onto the Nexus turrets. The first one falls as the minion wave is cleared. He's not backing down. He wants the golden year as he's trying to step up to this final Nexus turret. The Baron wears off and they have to back away. This series is not over yet.
Surprising. Xie took a lot of damage on that run. So even though Uzi could have waited for the next wave, healed up, would have went for the decisive blow. They called it too risky. Too much poke coming through from the GP.
And you could just hear the sigh of relief from the audience. This game is so close to being over, but it's not done just yet.
I am super thankful the game didn't end there. I just wanted to see the replay of how that decisive pick was made.
Well, now you get your wish, Raz. As in the top side,
follow
Faker's
Faker
at half health. Ming
on
over the wall.
Real. Ming getting the crucial pick with that cask toss.
And with Faker's wave clear gone, it's down to a single inhibitor turret and a single Nexus turret already chunked to below half health. 35 minutes into the game. Team China 6,000 gold ahead, but Team Korea more than capable of taking a team fight if they're able to find the right opportunity.
Getting into Gangplank territory, by the way, the moment it gets to 35 to 40 minutes into the game. You have to really check how much damage he does. I don't think Uzi knows how much damage. We haven't really found it. He's been hitting minions for a while. So next time he hits you is when you really realize that probably just going to mean one barrel and an auto attack that gets you.
Faker's trying to play around vision here, gets himself a nice safe ward over the wall, but Uzi steps up to clear this wave out as they're pushing onto the final inhibitor turret. No respite to Team Korea as China pushes in.
Gotta cue on towards the Olaf. You have the ability to ward hop towards Faker. Faker has to watch out. You saw with the last play.
Super minions are pushing in bottom. Let Me and MLXG bringing the wave forward. Peanuts on the side. That's the Predator. Uzi steps up, but dodges the undertow. Dodges the command attack, and MLXG! I cannot believe it. Core JJ is able to save Faker. He's still alive, but the inhibitor turret goes down. Super minions mid. Super minions bottom. It's going to be a 5 versus 5. Stand at the Nexus.
One structure left, and it's down. Nexus is bare open.
MLXG once again lands the Sonic Wave. Faker, he's got double summoner spells. MLXG steps up, but no Dragon Rage. Shockwave is able to pull Uzi in. He takes to the skies. That's the Cannon Barrage. Can he get out of this? She is working onto the Nexus. They just need to destroy that building and they win, but Uzi gets the kill. Onto Peanut. That's the hero's entrance. He's not stopping. He wants it. Let Me on the side finds entry, and Team Korea cannot find a way back into this. Uzi turns onto the Nexus, and the People's Republic of China take the gold medal win.
3-1 in a decisive fashion around Uzi. Gold medalist now. Such a massive win for the People's Republic of China.
You can see the fans jumping up and down at this victory. We could be seeing the beginning of a golden year for China, as they are looking to upset the ecosystem in League of Legends and prove that maybe there's a new top dog in town.
This sets you up for more games, man. Back and forth from the qualifiers to the group stage to the grand finals. And it ends unsuspectedly in China's favor.
They head over to shake hands with the Korean players in a very intense best of 5. You can hear the chants. Team China fighting, Team China fighting. And with a big smile, Uzi shakes Faker's hand. Long-time opponent, long-time rival. But this could finally be the year that the crownless king gets to put the final jewel in his headpiece, the final crown above them all.
Such a great win for the organization, at least for the country, for China as a whole.
Big hugs all around from Coach Aaron as Team China make their way back on stage after this victory. Even Mako, the sub-support, stepping in. He appeared during the group stages to help the team take a handful of wins, but it was Ming and Uzi who close out the series. MLXG, who risks everything with a Lee Sin match point, goes down in the laning phase, but comes up clutch with the Dragon's Rage onto Faker.
And of course, with the victors come the defeats. Looking towards Faker in what was an exceptional series for him. A great tournament for him. The last time we'll get to see him in the year, and it's always fun to get to see incredible talent go up against each other on a massive stage like this. So big congratulations to Team China, and especially Korea, for giving us such a great series.
Yeah.
But of course, we have one gold medalist.
Exactly. And that will currently be the People's Republic of China after that win. Of course, silver will go to the Republic of Korea.
AS Play รวมความบันเทิงคุณภาพ เปิดความสนุกทุกที่ทุกเวลา